Oh, yes.
A little bit of a problem. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of New Canaan Town Council regular meeting for Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. It's 7 p.m., even though the clock references 8:01 for some reason. Okay, we'll move to agenda item number 1, which is a Pledge of Allegiance, roll call, and a call to order. We have a Girl Scout troop number 50198 to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. So if they'd like to come on up and lead us, it'd be great. Yeah, stand right there. And everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag's over here. And whenever you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Girls, would you mind introducing yourselves quick so we all know who you are? Yeah, you get your own microphone, so the floor is yours.
Perfect.
The best one yet?
Oh, yeah. I'm Petra. I'm Laura. And I'm Sophie.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here and leading us. Okay, well, we're going to entertain a motion from.
Yes. Sorry. I'd like to move to add as item number 2 to the agenda, public comment.
Second. Any discussion? No discussion. We'll now vote. All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. All right. So we will now move to public comment as number 2 on the agenda. Do we have any public comments in the room? Okay. Want to give me a little preamble, that name, address?
Oh yeah. Could you just provide your name, address when you give your public comments, and then public comments should be limited to items that are on the agenda for this evening, and we'll give you about 2 minutes each.
Go ahead. Perfect.
Great.
Hi, everyone. I'm Meredith Tobish. I live at 203 Putnam Road here in New Canaan. My family and I moved to New Canaan about a year and a half ago. And I'm sure, like most parents here, I spend a lot of time thinking about where my children are the happiest. And for me, that answer is simple. It's when they're running around at a playground here in town with their friends. Not long after we arrived, I found a flyer stuffed in my daughter's backpack about the Friends of Waveney Playground. And I couldn't wait to find out more. It turns out one of my neighbors was deeply involved in the project. And after talking more about how to get younger families like mine involved, the committee so generously invited me to be on the executive committee with them. This playground is intentionally designed to blend in with the natural beauty of Waveney Park, so the families who spend so much time there can continue to enjoy it at a new level. And for me, it also carries a deeper meaning. About 6 months after I moved here, my father actually passed away, and he spent the last 10 years of his life in a wheelchair. So his ability to not walk and be in a wheelchair really shaped how I look at public spaces like this. And I know that if we build this here in Waveney, it's going to be a playground that gives families moments of reprieve, inclusion, and the pure joy that we all look for with our children. Since joining this effort, I've been amazed at the outpouring of support from our community members. More than 250 unique donors have given to this playground. And that tells me that people want this playground here in Waveney now. Our donors have given with the inclusivity in mind, and we're excited to deliver on that. We're incredibly lucky to live in a place in New Canaan so close to this amazing park. And for me, that we can come together as neighbors and build this playground in our most beloved and special park has given me something that's truly special, and I know it's magic. There was one other person who did want to speak tonight, but unfortunately it was past her bedtime.
I wish there was a playground at Waveney Park, and I love it.
Thank you all so much for your time, and I'm so excited to deliver to our donors this magical playground.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meredith.
Okay, any other speakers?
Yes, Sarah Pierce.
My speech is nowhere near that adorable.
Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, just get ready. So I come here before you tonight
Can I
on
just
behalf
stop you?
of, Sarah Pierce,
Could you, Sarah Pierce, and your address?
729 Laurel Road.
Great.
I come before you tonight on behalf of a neighbors group affected by the St. Luke's matter, which is to give you an update. There have been briefs submitted. We're going before a judge in a couple of months. I urge you to open the town charter because we deserve more elected representatives than we currently have. And I'm speaking, but a number of people in our group contributed to our remarks, and hopefully will give testimony to the charter committee. It's time we join our peer towns and elect the commissions which have the biggest impact on the daily lives of residents. Nowhere is that more important than planning and zoning and wetlands commissions, which exercise enormous power over property rights. And in our case, they exercised discretion to diminish our rights as residential property owners. A top priority for the charter review should be to increase electoral oversight and spread it more evenly and to strengthen checks and balances. A lot of people see the St. Luke's matter as sort of an isolated neighborhood issue. It might surprise you to learn that at 80,000 square feet, this parking structure will be one of the largest construction projects in the state of Connecticut. There are a couple of 100,000 square foot projects upstate, like in New Haven and Hartford. There's a 100,000 square foot project in Greenwich, but like we're up there at 80,000 square feet. This is a really serious project. And to give you an idea of scale, Weed Street was 30,000 square feet. So this is 80,000 square feet. It's pretty astounding too, because there is an explicit regulation that prohibits parking structures in residential neighborhoods. This has been going on for a couple of years, and we've sort of watched it snowball, and we've witnessed this circular confusion between the executive managed branch and the appointed commissions, because though they are statutorily independent, one is supposed to provide a check on the other, but in reality, that indirect oversight is non-existent. In our case, a lack of enforcement by the town, which they're very aware of, a lack of enforcement by the town was codified in the application and then expanded to this sort of unprecedented scale. But then down the line, when there's problems, the school will come back and they'll get more exceptions to the rules. So it just sort of creeps and grows. There's no building like this anywhere in Darien, Greenwich, any of our sister towns. It's in a residential zone. I was recently speaking to a zoning expert, and he pointed out to me that the quantity of material and the equipment that's going to get brought in, there's no shoulder on our road. So think about it. When these trucks come in, he was like, there's going to be a very high likelihood of you guys having to repave North Wilton Road after you build a 1.4 acre concrete building. You have to get all that material in. It's very different type of equipment that's used in residential construction. So like, who's going to pay for that? It's, our tax dollars. It's pretty interesting too, because the school at this point is 80% from out of town. So, I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think that the biggest, and this case hasn't really been discussed much in town. It feels like very niche. But, I don't think it's a conspiracy. The biggest problems tend to get ignored because, people aren't really sure how they, are responsible, what their link in the chain is. To that point, a neighbor wanted me to bring this up, not my neighbor over there, but another neighbor, that on the agenda tonight, we have a salary increase for the first selectman. But over the last 2 years, we've been unable to get an audience with Deanna, even though this is a pretty big project. It affects us in a pretty big way. I'm directly next to directly next to an 80,000 square foot construction site. That's a lot of debris. That's a lot of dust. That's a big hazard to the kids in the neighborhood. It was brought up a lot in the meeting by families and neighbors. But in 2,000 pages of records, I can confirm this. In 2,000 pages of record, not a single commissioner brought up the hazards to the neighborhood children. What it would be, what the a lot of people have come in here about the blowers, the leaf blowers, like consider an 80,000 square foot construction project, and not a single appointed commissioner brought up the hazards or discussed it in any detail. So just this area of government is not functioning.
Pierce, I hate to, we got to keep a pretty limited. I got to be equal with everybody.
Yeah,
so it's
I'll
almost 5
wrap
minutes.
it up and I'll send my remarks around to
Please
the
do.
group.
Thank you.
But it's a very serious issue. It's not gotten the attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any other?
Yes, Roy Rollins. Roy?
Took me out, so.
And Roy, make sure you pull the microphone close to you.
Oh,
You know, you have a large leonine voice. You need to get closer to that microphone.
checking, 1, 2, 3.
Floor is yours. Minutes.
All right, so I saw on the,
2 minutes. 2 minutos, yeah? Okay.
so I saw on the agenda about the charter being open. Charter got to be open. I'll tell you why. There's a problem when the town council and the board of selectmen appoints members of specific committees. You don't get the best of the best that are qualified. It's a popularity contest. And there's members on this council that have been here too long and have biased and, in my mind, bigotry. That doesn't work. What that does, you have a lack of accountability on these committees, lack of segregation of duties, and there's management override of controls. It's a popularity contest, not the best qualified. Let's look at the audit committee. There's not one member on that committee that has done an audit in the past 25 years. You got tax preparers on an audit committee, and who makes the decision to appoint these people? People have no idea about CPAs or accounting or ethics for accounting. They're not independent. How could the town council vote on a body that's supposed to review the town council or the board of selectmen? Do you know there's a 2020 procurement policy that Nick Williams and Kevin passed? That there has to be 3 competitive bids on over $50,000? Board of Selectmen don't even know about it. They don't even use it. Why? These people are afraid on these committees to bring things up because they won't get appointed again. Let the electorate decide on who these Board of Finance audit committee members are, not people with a popularity contest who besmirches people behind their back and doesn't even allow them to defend themselves. This charter has to be open because New Canaan is behind the times. Other towns elect the Board of Finance and other committees. We are better than that. We're better than besmirching people and having a popularity contest. Who suffers? The community, because you don't have the best of the best. I'll tell you one thing. I just passed my peer review again. No deficiencies, not by the state, but the AICPA National Peer Review Committee. Do you have one member on the audit committee that did that? No, no.
You're right.
Thank you.
State your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Joseph Barisi. I live at 24 Rural Drive, and I ask that you please approve the Waveney Playground in full. As a resident, local business owner, and most importantly, a parent, this inclusive playground means so much to me. Children of all abilities, especially kids in wheelchairs, like my son Benjamin, deserve a place where they can laugh, play, and truly belong. This project is more than a playground. It's a promise that every child in our community is seen, valued, and included. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That was great.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, I'm Lauren Tarzia, 19 Hampton Lane. Good evening, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I am a New Canaan resident and mother of 2 neurodivergent sons, founder of Inclusive Together, a 501c3 here in New Canaan. I'm a 20-year special educator and speech language pathologist. I'm here to strongly advocate for the full implementation of the inclusive playground that is being built at Waveney, exactly as planned, with nothing removed or scaled back. This isn't just about meeting accessibility standards. This is about creating belonging Right now, there are families who avoid public places in New Canaan because they lack meaningful access. When you build something from the ground up that everyone can use, you're saying, you belong. Every inch of this playground was designed with all abilities in mind. Communication boards, sensory-friendly zones, and accessible climbing and spinning equipment aren't just extras or luxuries. They are invitations and welcome mats that say, you are welcome here. This playground will also give parents in New Canaan of neurodiverse kids a safe place to connect, something that's sorely missing in our community. Typical parents meet at soccer games, dance classes, hockey games, football games. Families like mine, we often can't do that. We can't just sign up and be a part of that. And it's isolating. This playground changes that. Families will leave with a deeper understanding of what it means to share space with someone who moves through the world differently. When we cut features, we're not just saving money, we're sending a message about who belongs and who doesn't. We cannot afford to do that. This playground is a symbol that every child and every family, with or without a disability, is valued and welcomed and included. Please honor the work behind this design and approve the budget as is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Town Council. I'm Kendall Moore. I'm at 25 Meadow Lane. My remarks will be very, very brief, but I echo Lauren. I'm on the board of her organization, Inclusive Together. Proud to be on the board. I have a neurodivergent son in 5th grade here, and then neurotypical boy in 3rd and neurotypical daughter in kindergarten. We moved to New Canaan, I guess, the summer before COVID. And one of the first things we did in our house when we moved in was build a sensory gym in our basement. And people come in our basement and we've got monkey bars into a foam pit you can fall into. We've got a cocoon swing on our ceiling. And I tell you, when my son is in the cocoon swing, I can talk to him about anything. And it's pretty amazing. My other story I'd just love to share quickly is Lauren and I have also worked with a Connecticut organization called Especially Everyone, and they try and create music concerts and music experiences that are accessible for all. So my son was able to go to Park City Music Hall in Bridgeport and see a band play with a few other kids with lots of sensory accommodations. And there was a girl in a wheelchair, and he went over to her and started speaking and engaging with her and asking how she was doing and if she was having a good time. And then he danced with her. And I don't think that ever would have happened without this type of environment. And so much of, I think, what is important with this playground is the opportunity for, like Lauren said, everyone to interact and kind of normalize, and for maybe children in wheelchairs or children who can't see or speak to be able to play alongside their neurotypical siblings. People move to New Canaan for our all families with all types of learners. So I think that this would be a beacon in Waveney Park.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kendall.
Is there anybody online that would like to speak? And if so, please raise your virtual hand.
Okay, that concludes agenda item number 2, public comments. We'll now move on to what is now agenda item number 3. Oops. Law school, med school.
We need to do the attendance.
Ah,
Oh, sorry.
most importantly of all, we did not do a roll call. I was so excited to get to public comments, but I forgot to do something critically important. So please, the roll call.
Rita Bettino. Here.
Janet Fons. Here. Luke Hoffman.
Here.
Mike Morrow.
Here.
Maria Norton.
Here.
Kimberly Norton.
Here.
Hillary Orman.
Here.
Christina Ross here. Eric Tunham.
Here.
Penny Young.
Here.
Jennifer Zonas.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, well, we'll call to order the meeting that started 20 minutes ago. So, okay, let's move on to agenda item number 3, minutes. Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting held on July 16th, 2025. Can I get a motion? Penny, Luke seconds. Discussion. Eric.
How about, sorry, correction on, I believe, page 3, under town council rules. The sentence starting, it was noted the appropriate budget allocation for these positions were not approved during the most recent budget cycle and need to be addressed prior to these individuals. It should say assuming, not assume, office after their election in November 2025. Just clarifies things and corrects the grammar.
Okay, anyone object to that? Makes them crazy to hear it. If not, are there any other edits? Discussion? Hearing nothing else, we'll now take a vote. All in favor of the approving the minutes as amended from Councilman Eric Tunham? All in favor? A motion passes unanimously. Okay. Move on to agenda item number 4, salary increase for first selectman, review and approve an increase to the first selectman's salary by 2.75% for each of the next 2 years as recommended by the Board of Finance. Cheryl Jones and Tucker Murphy, the floor is yours.
Good evening. We are here tonight to respectfully request that the town council approve a 2.75% increase to the first selectman's salary for fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 27. This adjustment aligns with the average salary increase received by the town employees this year. The first selectman's salary should have been reviewed during the recent budget process. However, that review did not take place.
And Todd Lavieri, Chairman of the Board of Finance, couldn't be here tonight, but he asked me just to remind you all that the Board of Finance took this up at their last meeting and voted unanimously to support this recommendation.
Okay, any discussions or comments, any questions regarding this agenda item? Go ahead, Thomas.
Do you know whether the Board of Finance considered increases for the other elected officials?
No, they did not.
They did not. And they didn't say why? And did they meet again before the election?
Yes, they will meet again October 9th, I think.
But just once?
Yep.
And the 2.75, just for the publics, where does that number come from? So they all don't think it was just pulled out
That's
of
the
thin air.
increases that the union contracts and the town managers have received.
Okay. Okay, any questions, Christina?
The salary increase, did you say 2.75 per year, correct? Well, according to the statutes, it's supposed to be lumped together in the same salary for both years. So you would add it up to 5.5%.
Okay.
Okay, everybody clear on what the amount is, the increase, and how that is just allocated across the next 2 years?
Yeah, I just want to, I thought what we were approving or being asked to approve was an increase in the first selectman's salary by 2.75%. But you're saying it's 2.75% for
each year.
Each year.
year. So
26 and 27.
So we're being asked to approve something that's going to happen a year from now.
Correct. Because once they get into office, then you
I
cannot
understand that. We can't change it once the person is elected. We can only change it beforehand, but I understood. My understanding is that means we can do a one-time adjustment prior to the election. And what we're doing right now is essentially an adjustment this year and an adjustment next year in the middle of the term, which kind of isn't what I was expecting.
Nick, do you want to speak to this?
Sure.
Nick Bamonte from Bridget Moses.
No.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Tucker just introduced me, so I won't do that again. Yeah, I think for the sake of clarity, under the statutes, well, actually, under the Connecticut Constitution, increases during the elected term are prohibited. I think it would be easier and more consistent with at least the intention of the law, as I understand it, sitting here before you tonight, to have a firm number, to understand what the actual increase is going to be over this two-year period. I don't know if we can identify that number, but just for the sake of clarity and having a finite amount, that would be subject to approval.
I have the number. It's an additional increase of $9,405, making the total compensation per year of $180,405.
That's per year?
2.75 on after the first year's increase, and then is it 2.75% like on the new salary after 1 year? Does that make sense? So is
I
that
didn't
right?
add it that way. I just added 2.75 times 2 and added it to the salary.
I think you're right, Hillary.
That's.
I think it would be a higher number because this, the second year you have to multiply by.
The base is higher.
Yeah, the base is higher. Yeah.
Much higher.
Okay.
But that's a good estimate to have in mind, because it's probably not far off from that.
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
It's close.
Yeah.
What did you say the number was?
$180,405.
Okay.
It's not exact.
Thank you.
$180,534 would be the total compensation per year.
Is this consistent with what we've done in years past with respect to the first selectman's salary? That
The increases, yes. I think as we looked over, it's been very different over the last, I would say, 10 years. But in the past, the selectmen have gotten the cost of living, the first select.
And each year, so we haven't had to, obviously we can't vote on it each year.
How we
So
did it when Deanna was coming into office is the town council had voted on a one salary.
Right.
So that's what Christina has recommended now, which it sounds like is the right way to go.
Yeah, I have a question. Given that the town council rules talk about the clerk and the treasurer and the first selectman together, is there a reason that this wasn't put before the Board of Finance with the three of them put forward for the COLA? Like in past years, has it been just the first selectman, or how has it worked?
In the past, it has gone through the budget process. This missed the budget process. So we were, I was asked and Tucker was asked to look at the first selectman salary from the Board of Finance.
My opinion and recollection is different. We have done it off years, away from the budget, closer to the election. So it's fluctuated back and forth. And I know that Penny requested that Tucker put it in the calendar and reminded town council that this should be done during the budget year. And it was omitted from our agenda. So that said, it's been the town council who has set the salary, not the HR department or the town.
The HR department did not set this salary.
So
The Board of
who's-
Finance set this salary.
My recollection is that it is established in the spring, often with the budget, but prior to the time that someone would declare that they're running for office, so that they would know what their salary will be while they're in office.
But the statutes don't limit that. It just says that it has to be prior to election.
Of course, the real question is, should we be giving raises to the other elected officials, right? Why don't we talk about that directly?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that everybody has received a COLA increase. What about
It has to go back to the Board of Finance. You can't, this body cannot, because it's mid-cycle. If it was during the budget season, it would go to the Board of Finance and Council. Because this is not through the budget cycle, the only, maybe you should say, because you're.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah, I mean, I completely support.
Shut you down for a quick second. I want to manage this discussion and be on point with it, but I want to understand specifically, okay? when can the town council adjust the salaries for these three positions? That's what I need to know, and then continue on with what you were about to say.
Prior to the election with Board of Finance approval.
So there is an opportunity for the other two positions to be evaluated by the Board of Finance. Is that correct? Okay.
I thought it was initiated by the town council and then the Board of Finance approves it. It's not initiated by the Board of Finance. So we could approve today and then it could go to the Board of Finance in October and then they could approve it as a contingency, right? I mean, the statutes are not saying that it comes from the Board of Finance. The power is lying in the town council is my read, but I'll defer to you in your opinion.
Yeah, I don't think that, I mean, this obligation comes from the charter, not the statutes, but the charter says you need both approvals. So I don't think there's any clear rule as to who initiates that, but you just need concurrence by both boards, or this council and the Board of Finance.
So can one body say yes and the other say no, and that's the end of it?
Yes.
What does that mean? One can say yes, one can say no, and that's the end of it.
That's what it means.
Yeah. Like if we vote on it tonight and we say we're sending it back down to the Board of Finance, I believe what Mr. Bramante is saying is that the Board of Finance could reject that.
And that's
We
the end
could
of it.
reject the recommendation from the Board of Finance.
That's what I'm looking for. The end game.
That's
Yeah,
Well-
the back and forth is great, but I'm looking like, what's the end game? Like,
If one of the two bodies says no, it doesn't move forward.
okay.
So then theoretically, then the Board of Finance has veto authority over the town council.
If this town council were to hypothetically on its own say, okay, we're going to vote to increase the salaries for these two other positions, yes, it would then require Board of Finance approval to actually become legally effective. If the Board of Finance denies that, then it never becomes legally effective. So yeah, it's essentially a veto power in that hypothetical.
Does that also pertain then to the town budget? We get a budget request of $150 million. Say we want to reduce it by $50 million. Okay. The Board of Finance can say, you're not doing that.
If we're in the context of the budget, we follow the steps outlined by the charter for the approvals and the requisite timeframes for obtaining those approvals. So I think it is distinct.
I mean, again, this is probing because I read your memo and, I write plenty of memos like that. So it just strikes me, and you very well may be correct about it, but then it sounds like to me that the town council can be subordinate to the Board of Finance. And I don't necessarily read the Constitution, the Charter, or any statute that actually supports that proposition. So if there is out there, and it very well may exist, I just haven't seen it. Because at least that's my interpretation of what you're telling, is that the town council can make a recommendation on salary increases to whatever position. We could say nothing to the town clerk or the treasurer, we're going to increase by $1 million the first selectman. The Board of Finance could say no to that. And vice versa. It should say to the town council, you should be increasing by $1 million. And the answer is, we could say, no, we're not doing that. I'm just trying to understand the parameters. I'm not getting into this merits of whether we should be doing it. I'm just trying to understand what the law says.
I think it's because this is a contingency transfer, it has nothing to do with the budget. All contingencies have to come through. If you did it through the budget cycle, then you would be the final arbiter. But because this isn't not coming through the budget cycle, which it should have, they should have quite the cycle. Because they didn't, they were done out of cycle. We have to take any of the money that is going to be approved out of contingency, and our charter says all contingency has to be approved by the board.
Got it. Yeah, that's what I'm, again, trying to probe what the parameters are, and the context matters, right? Context matters. That's what I'm getting at.
And I, again, agree and echo with what the first selectman just said. This body is ultimately the final arbiter. It is the budget authority, even under the sections of the statute that talks about setting compensation for elected officials. But The state law is not the end all be all. Our charter provisions, especially when it comes to local budgetary process, the Supreme Court, the courts across the state have very clearly held, you look to what the charter says, even if there's a conflict with state law when it comes to local budget procedure. For this topic, I don't see a conflict. There's just an additional layer that our charter puts onto this specific instance of a mid-year transfer. Again, because the only way practically to affect this mid-year increase would be to pull it out of contingency because it didn't go through the normal budget process. It wasn't budgeted in any fund. So if you're going to do if you're going to approve or try to approve a salary increase mid-year that didn't make it in the budget, that triggers this additional charter provision that says whenever something is coming out of contingency, Board of Finance has to approve it. And that makes sense because otherwise, in the typical budget cycle, our charter sets it up with Board of Finance first. They look at all the numbers, they make their recommendations, they hold public hearings, and then you guys see it. And you, in that case, are the final arbiter with no additional veto power from the Board of Finance. Here, it's just mid-year transfer would be coming out of contingency. You need both. Under state law, you guys are the authority to actually make the decision on compensation, but under local law, that also needs to get echoed by Board of Finance.
Just one follow-up question, because this is a great sort of moot court, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And not to geek out and prolong this, but you said something that intrigues me, and maybe we can take it offline. But so if the state statute conflicts with the charter, the charter governs. So the state statute isn't actually setting a floor like it would normally do. Well, that's interesting.
It is. I'm happy. It's an interesting one.
That's
yeah.
an offline law review discussion, but thank
And
you.
doesn't the state statute, it doesn't it just effectuate the powers of the local law? So it says like the municipality can set the compensation. So it's a permissive statute. And then once we do, and we've addressed it in the charter. So
in this particular case, yes, I don't think there is this conflict where you're running into, charter and state law say two different things. Charter is going to supersede. They both work together.
Right.
Yeah.
Tom.
Nick, have you considered the argument that the Board of Finance's role in this case is merely ministerial, that the policy judgment is made by the town council, and that while the Board of Finance has to be involved in disbursements, it's just a ministerial act?
Well, I don't think I agree with that, and my answer is fairly nuanced. All right, let's step back to the state law 7 no, it's the hold on, where's my memo?
7-34.
7-460. That's the one that talks about the budget authority setting the salary for these elected officials. Budget authority is not defined in that state law for a specific reason, because the budget authority is different from municipality to municipality, depending on their form of government, depending on ultimately what it means is whoever has the final say on the budget, which is this body, which is why I've been saying this under this section of the state law that talks about who can approve or who's necessary to approve increases for these elected officials. This body is that budget authority. But the intention behind that and giving that power to the budget authority is having the context of the whole budgetary, what would normally be the budgetary process, the public hearings, the input from the Board of Finance, which I think, Tom, is a higher level of review than just, a rubber stamp, we're administrative in the process. This board, in voting to increase the salaries of these elected officials, is acting as the budget authority under the statute. So in my opinion, this, and I mean, I can probably find some cases to support this. I haven't done it yet, at least, but my opinion is that in acting as the budget authority, this board has to consider the input of the Board of Finance in a role similar to what the Board of Finance would be offering in the normal budgetary context. I told you it was nuanced. The point is that I think it's more than just a rubber stamp by the Board of Finance. I think they need to look at the numbers and act according to what the charter says, which is they must, I don't have the exact language, but it says any disbursements can only be out of contingency, can only be made by the Board of Finance.
Doesn't Jen have her hand up, or
Jennifer, do you have your,
But so
anybody?
would we be considered the official budget authority, town council, and then Board of Finance is the appropriating authority? Is that a way to think of it, or?
Not really, because this technically isn't, I mean, there's another section of our local laws that talks about special appropriations and a different sort of step that is still distinct from what we're doing here. This is a mid-year transfer out of contingency, which falls under a different section of the law. So, but that's sort of what we're doing here. The Board of Finance is sort of the check and balance on looking at the numbers and making sure that there actually is money available somewhere if this council is inclined to do to vote yes on the increases. I mean, the money has to be there.
Make a point in another direction. Christina, do you have the calculations of how much money this actually is? I mean, I would just be surprised that everyone in town hall got a COLA adjustment. Now we're being asked to give one to the first selectman. And I don't think we're talking about a lot of money. So I'm not really clear on why the Board of Finance would not approve it. Could someone maybe bring that up, to bring that to light? I don't understand. It's like a couple $1,000s. What?
We don't know that they haven't taken any action on this, so it's not that they've not approved it.
No, I said that they will not approve it. If we vote it, why would they not approve a COLA increase?
If the money's there.
Money's there, and we know, I mean, it's not that much money, right? Christina, do you know the amount?
No, just going by the numbers without, we're talking about $7,645 for the town clerk position and $2,500 roundabout for the treasurer.
Yeah, so like $10,000. I mean, I would be astounded if they did not approve that.
Well,
Maybe, I don't know if anyone else weighs in on that. I mean, why wouldn't they? We've got two great, town servants that do a great job for the town. And I don't know why we're spending all this time. And Nick, with all due respect to you, you're a great lawyer, but we're paying for this advice right now. And I don't really know why we would have to do that.
let me just hop in on a couple of points there. So what action the Board of Finance takes or doesn't take, I mean, I don't think any of us can speak on their behalf. We can't. We don't represent them, and we're not read in on their discussions. And, they'll speak for themselves on what, I'm not reading into anything that they haven't expressed anything, any public reasoning as to why they have or not have done anything. So I would just leave it at that. With respect to, I think, Nick being here, and I appreciate this discussion and I think it's illuminating for all of us to establish, our understanding of what our authority is and context, whether it's a contingency related item or it is a actual standardized quote unquote budget, issue. So I think I have pretty crystal clear clarity on it now, probably more than I've ever had, because I needed to understand the statutes, the issue I was talking about with what sets the floor, what doesn't. So all of those things matter. And that's the discussion I wanted us to have, which feeds into our town council rule discussions. We don't really have to have too much of a duplicative discussion on that. But I do want to ask Nick, since he's here, and because I know it appeared in your memo, I thought the clerk was a little bit of a different animal, so to speak, in terms of that salary. Can you just speak to that quickly?
Sure. So, well, quickly.
I got it. I got to put the little lights on. You got 2 minutes.
Let me think about how to try to frame this. So I talked earlier about this. Yeah, thank you.
Got some cheat sheets there.
No, I mean, I know what I want to say. I'm just trying to frame it in a way that's most effective. So I mentioned earlier that there's the statute that I referenced deems this body the budget authority for purposes of setting these elected official salaries. Mike, I think what you're referring to is my little caveat to that, which is town council, when it comes to the selectmen and the treasurer, I mean, I'm not going to spend time explaining why the statutes are this way, and I may never even have a reason. But this board, in approving increases for the treasurer or any of the selectmen, acts as both, under the statutes that apply, the legislative body and this budget authority. For the town clerk, for whatever reason, the legislature has this body acting, the General Assembly, the way they passed a law. This body doesn't act specifically for the town clerk as the budget authority. They act as the legislative body. All that means is there is still an approval required by this board, but maybe it doesn't still remove the local charter provision that requires Board of Finance approval whenever there's something coming out of the contingent fund. So it's a little bit of semantics on the role this body plays under state law. It doesn't change that this body needs to vote it up or down in order to move forward. And it doesn't change the fact that our charter also would require a Board of Finance upvote in order for it to move forward.
Okay, questions?
I just have a comment, and thank you for this clarity, I think. I think that this is helpful. This is a helpful discussion regardless of how much money we're talking about, because we have to have something clear going forward. Hopefully this does not happen again and we're all on our game, and it is part of the budget process. And so this is a really unique situation that we're being asked to, we're asking you to opine on for us and give us some clarity on. I think, again, that's the lesson here, is that we need to be really diligent about making sure that this goes through the normal budget process. I am comfortable with it first going through Board of Finance instead of it starting here and then getting catapulted back there for an up or down. I would encourage the Board of Finance to add the question of the town clerk and the treasurer to their next agenda, vote it up or down so that it's before the next election, and we will hear it again. It'll come back to us because they're going to meet before the next election, and then we're going to meet before the next election. So we have one more shot. And I'm comfortable with having that process in place because it sounds like it's consistent with the charter and state statute. And then it's not going back and forth before the election, and it will get resolved. That's my opinion. And I would move to approve this salary increase for the first selectman as set forth in the agenda. I don't know that we have a motion on the floor yet, but I would do that.
Okay, yeah, let me just,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
I just want to comment that based on what I've seen so far, I don't agree with the legal opinion. Having said that, I haven't done nearly as much research as Nick has done, and he is our legal counsel. And so I would definitely defer to his view. And that's an important step in this process, to just say, look, we both need to decide, approve on additional raises, or they don't happen. Separate question though is, and Hillary raised certainly a valid approach as to where do we go on the money. And I think we should do that. And so maybe the question is, do we actually put forward our proposal? There's nothing stopping us. We don't have to follow this order that the Board of Finance always goes first. We can go first on the others and make a recommendation and invite them to concur.
I agree with Tom on that. And I also don't agree with the legal opinion. And I do find it helpful. I didn't say it wasn't helpful. I just thought it was going on for a long time about something that's a very little amount of money. And I think is well-deserved. So I would feel comfortable putting forth the proposal and then putting it in the Board of Finance's lap, because if we give it to them and they don't put it on, then the election happens, and then these two positions have to wait 2 more years. Then we're out even more. So I feel more comfortable with us proposing the increase, agreeing to the COLA, and then putting it in the Board of Finance's hands to, as Tom said, have their ministerial role. Or I know that Nick doesn't agree with that, but I see them more as, agreeing to what we're all elected. The Board of Finance is not elected. They're appointed by the first selectman. So I see our role as, you know, carrying more weight in that decision to grant the COLA to those two positions.
Thank you. Eric?
It's first a question. Has the salary for the first selectman in New Canaan changed since her election 2 years ago? Okay, so for 2 years, that salary has not changed.
Correct.
And I think similar questions need to be asked and similar analysis needs to be made with respect to the town clerk position and the treasurer position. But I'm focusing just on this first selectman. So if this is not approved tonight, the incumbent first selectman will have gone essentially 4 years without a salary adjustment, while virtually every other person who works in town hall has enjoyed salary adjustments and increases over that 4-year period. Is that correct?
Correct.
No, that's wrong. All the salaries were increased 2 years ago.
Yes.
But that was before her
That
election.
was before the
Before the
election.
election.
Correct.
That was what Eric said.
4 years.
No, we would go 4 years.
No, I'm saying
Effectively.
if there is no adjustment to the first selectman's salary prior to this upcoming election, the first selectman by the end of this next term, will have been working for 4 years with no salary increase.
The only comment I would say is deserved rather than earned. You said they benefited from the salary
I
increase.
said they have enjoyed salary increase.
Yeah, I think they earned would be a,
Well,
Okay.
I'm not in a position to evaluate the working performance of everybody who's been given an adjustment, so I can't say they've earned it or not. Presumably they have, but they have certainly enjoyed the benefit of those increases. While the first selectman, if not adjusted prior to this year's election, will have, by the end of the incumbent's next term, worked for 4 years with no salary increase, while everyone else in town hall has enjoyed, benefited from, or earned salary increases during that period. And I wanted to know if that was correct.
You are correct.
And if that is correct, then it seems to me that this motion makes some sense. I don't know I've heard about some salary increases for the town clerk and for the treasurer, but I don't have hard facts about those increases over the last 2 years in front of me.
Got it. Okay, and then we gotta get to an end point and get to the motion. But go ahead, Jennifer or Christina. And did you want to talk to them?
So sort of following up a little bit on what Hillary said and now Eric, would it be, could we move to separate out the two issues after this excellent discussion? Because there seems to be more clarity about first selectman, and to have a vote on that. And then I have a question about, is there a precedent in recent history for having the salaries of the clerk and the treasurer or other town employees come up in this contingency, in this circumstance? Do we have a precedent for this happening in recent history? And in that case, did it have to go back to Board of Finance first, or has there ever been a time where town council proposed the increase and then sent it back to Board of Finance?
I don't believe that I'm aware of that.
So we just don't have any precedent to look at too. So I think I'm inclined to follow Hillary's suggestion, just because it sounded like a good, clean process, is what I would say.
Thank you, Jennifer. Christina?
So to follow up on what you just said, Jennifer, the town council set the salary, and to answer Eric's question, and increased the salary of the first selectman 2 years ago and added the COLA in order to bring it closer to what the CFO salary was. We didn't get everything we wanted, but we bumped it up substantially. That was 2 years ago, and that set the salary for 2 years for the incoming selectman. So at this point, we look again prior to the election what the salary shall be for the next 2 years. So there isn't a loss to 4 years, because we set it for 2 years consecutive, and then again and again and again. So what's curious to me is that the Board of Finance was silent on the issue of a COLA increase to 2 elected positions, yet everybody else got the COLA, all the town employees, including the proposal for the first selectman, but there's nothing on the table or discussion. So I feel it would be our responsibility to opine on it, vote on it, and then bring it back to the Board of Finance. And in the past, the Board of Finance has not come back to us with, we have to review it. We passed it and it's been. So I'm totally respectful of what Nick is saying to send it back, but I think it's our responsibility as the legislative and the budget authority in this case to set the salary and let that play out.
Penny.
I'm sitting here listening to all this, that something's going on with the Board of Finance as to why they did not increase the salary. I mean, I don't know why exactly, but something's different than the process we've always followed. So
Can I interject for a
yeah, I'm a
minute?
little uncomfortable if something's,
No,
you know.
so when the Board of Finance was looking at the increases, they had asked us 2 years ago what the increases were for each position. The percentage for the treasurer was 71.75% increase in his salary.
71?
71.75. And the town clerk was 12.46% increase. And the first selectman was 5%. So that is when the Board of Finance looked at that, they did not take those two up at that point. They had asked us to put this chart together.
Mike?
Hold on, I think Maria had a question.
Well, and just in light of that, I think I remember those conversations and was really low. So of course the jump is going to be a high percent. And I believe there was like an equalizer discussion for the town clerk. My point was going to be, if the statute doesn't say which party initiates the COLA increase, whether it's Board of Finance or Town Council, I don't see any problem with us initiating the conversation. And then at the next meeting, all three are covered. I don't think their absence of addressing it is enough of an answer. I feel like we have to.
Suggesting
So
tabling
I'm
the vote
suggesting,
on
you know,
this?
we'll vote on the motion that's here, but
Mhm.
also add an additional motion as to whether or not we approve a COLA adjustment for the town clerk and the treasurer, and go from there. So I feel more comfortable keeping the three positions together, unified.
So wait a minute, you're saying table this vote for the first selectman and bring
No,
them
I
all
think we
back
can
together?
still vote on the first selectman, but I also think we should take a vote on whether or not there should be a COLA increase for the other two positions, and then the ball's back in the Board of Finance court.
Just would concur with that. If you want to get what you want, put it on the table. If we tell the Board of Finance that we're just going to wait for them to do something, then they never have to go public with what their analysis is.
Oh, no. Yeah, I agree.
It's
Yeah,
true.
I
They haven't so
agree-
far.
I agree with Tom and Maria and Christina. Mike, Eric?
Can I suggest something? Rather than take a vote and send it back to the Board of Finance and ask them to think about things, I would suggest that perhaps the Finance and Government Committee of the Town Council meet with the Board of Finance to discuss this subject and understand what is going to come forth from the Board of Finance that we can then vote on. I think it's a bit of putting the cart before the horse for us to vote on something that the Board of Finance has no idea is coming and then surprise them. We have committees that work. I would suggest that the Finance and Government Committee take this subject up and have a discussion in earnest with the Board of Finance over the coming weeks prior to the October Town Council meeting, and then take a vote when Board of Finance has made a recommendation with an explanation for their recommendation.
That did happen the last time.
Okay.
Mark Jimsky and, were you on that, Tom? Bob Hamill and
can't remember who from town council, put together a full presentation. The two subcommittees met, brought proposals, and it was rejected by the town council and new members were put in place.
So I think that I like that suggestion. Let's have that into committee and please get that on. Yeah, Jennifer.
And I just want to I don't know if this in the consideration, because I like this idea. I thought I heard someone say that the next board of finance meeting is October 9th. So maybe just, so, I mean, the time frame, should you have that prior to that meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel more comfortable having the town council make the recommendation. I really don't feel comfortable, given that we're out of time. If we had 6 months to do this, I think it would be different. But if this committee doesn't agree to it, then they're gonna have to wait many years for a COLA increase. So I don't understand why we can't put it forward. It is in our authority to do it. So why are we holding back from doing it? So I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the treasurer and the town clerk get a COLA increase for the budget year 2026, 2020, is it 2027?
Hold on.
I'm speaking, Hillary. So I'd like to make that motion.
There's a motion pending right now that I've already made.
Hold on.
I didn't hear that you said it was
I
a
did.
motion. You had an idea.
Hold on.
It wasn't seconded.
Guys, hold on. We have a motion on the floor. It was seconded and we were,
aware of
it's,
that.
it's open for discussion, which we've been having a discussion. Okay? So I suggest that, and I hear what you're saying, Kim. It would be better if the Board of Finance is told this thing needs to be taken up. We will do with the town council what we want to do, okay? In terms of expressing what our collective will is, okay? We can get into this issue of, Board of Finance needs to approve it because it's contingency. I get all that, but I think everyone is clear on what this process is. So if we have the Board of Finance being told through our committee, look, we're just telling you guys that we are considering a COLA increase for these two other roles. You guys should really be opining on it, and because we're voting on it on October 23rd. So, because if we vote now, say, let's give a COLA increase right now, and Board of Finance, now you can discuss it. I just think it's better we work a little bit more collaboratively, but we're not ceding any authority to the Board of Finance or saying, we'll do whatever you say, Board of Finance. That's why I think I'm more comfortable with the committee approach versus let's just have this vote on, because that's particularly why I didn't put it on the agenda tonight, because we needed to have this discussion to establish what the authority lines are, which quite honestly, I think many of us, and you all speak for yourselves, I think we're unclear on, and I was slightly unclear myself. So that's why I think it's a better process to have with the way in which I'm proposing.
Just a note on timing. If we do this committee process and we don't come to agreement, then we'd have our meeting on the 23rd. We could do whatever we want. They don't have another meeting scheduled between then and the election. So if you're looking for leverage, we really need to act now.
That was my point, is we're going to be running out of time when it comes to the calendar. If this was, I totally agree with Mike to go through channels, but we are running out of time. So that's why I feel like it's better for us to act on our authority.
I also think that's kind of Mike's point. Like what you guys are saying is what the start of his, what he was saying is that this is how it should play out. And we know that we're in a tight window. And we want to make the best efforts and the collective efforts of everyone in this room to produce for the citizens of New Canaan. I think that there's been a tremendous progress. We have a short window tonight, and let's continue to push forward.
I think Tom's point is the Board of Finance will be too late for it to come back to us before the election. And therefore the COLA won't take place until the following budget year, because it has to be pre-election. So that's the part, 2 years. So that's the part that I'm stuck on, is that timing issue.
The Board of Finance meets on October 7th, Town Council meets on October 15th, and there's always the ability to call a special meeting for either body.
Let me clarify. My suggestion is that the Finance and Government Committee of the Town Council reach out to the chairman of the Board of Finance and explain to the chairman of the Board of Finance the essence of this conversation and what is moving in our conversation. And would the Board of Finance please take that up and perform an analysis that results in a recommendation from them with respect to a COLA increase for the town clerk and the treasurer? That's a phone call. There's plenty of time to make that phone call before the Board of Finance meets on October 9th. In fact, we could do that tomorrow.
And plenty
The
of
Board of
time.
Board of Finance has plenty of time to take it up and to think about it and do an analysis before October 9th, make their recommendation, and we take it up on the 15th. I think. Yeah.
Well, I think it's important to keep the three votes together, the three, it doesn't seem fair in a way.
Why
to
is
vote-
that necessary?
Well, I'm telling you why. It doesn't seem fair to vote on one position only and sort of leave the other two hanging.
But one is already resolved. We have a figure, we have approval from the Board of Finance. We could actually get something done and move on to other topics as well. I mean, it's something we could accomplish tonight.
Accomplish a vote on the other two and get a.
But isn't it, the way that this conversation is going, if we were to vote on those other two and it goes to the Board of Finance, they could ignore it. Essentially is the conclusion, because we're saying, well, we're gonna jump ahead in the order. And then the Board of, like, it could be creating the very situation. Hold on a second.
The order doesn't matter.
That's
Well,
what I
that's-
thought Nick was saying.
But we can't force the Board of Finance into a decision. We can't exert our authority over the Board of Finance in the same way that they can't exert their authority over us. So why don't we follow a normal process, which is,
I agree.
like, this is such a unique situation, guys, but it is important to set the precedent. And I would always set the precedent in favor of following, one, the charter, right? Which contemplates that that the Board of Finance would first hear this and then it would come to us. And Eric and I can commit to work expeditiously. We can call Todd tomorrow and move this along. I don't think there's a risk that it's going to get ignored, but the same thing could happen. We could make a vote now and it could be ignored then by the Board of Finance. And then what happens?
Right,
Like,
that's why the
it's
sequ-
creating this situation, which is why
Which
if
I
we
don't
set,
like.
yeah,
That's the sequencing
that's-
we don't want to have.
exactly.
So look, Tom, last word, 'cause we gotta move it along here.
I just want a clarification. Are you saying that your analysis suggests that the Board of Finance takes the lead?
No, I'm not.
That's, yeah, well, you actually did say something that said the Board of Finance initiates it. And my read was when Nick said that either body could initiate it. I agree with Maria that the three positions should stay together. And I feel like since we are elected and we look at these numbers, and if everyone else has gotten it, and these are the only two positions that haven't, why are we holding back? I don't understand what the reticence is of why we're holding back to give a $10,000 cumulative amount to two people that do a wonderful job for the town, and to put it in the hands of the Board of Finance, which is appointed. I don't understand why we would cede that authority when we have it.
Hold on, Eric.
No,
and
I
I'll get
understand
to
that, but
you.
I'm making a different motion, Hillary, and I know yours is on the floor. I'm saying that why wouldn't we initiate it now? Why do we wait for the Board of Finance? Why would we defer to a committee? So you and I have a difference of opinion of the sequence of how this should play out.
So the Board of Finance could say yes or no. If they say no, we can say yes. If they say yes, we could say yes or no. And I think that process, the circle of life right there, it comes full circle. That's why that way makes the most appropriate sense, and they'll have, I think, an integrity, the integrity of the decision will be, I think, very solid. That's why approving it right now and saying, Board of Finance, what do you think? And then they say no, and then we're dead in the water. Right,
Agreed.
see, we're dead in
I
the
agree.
water. That's the consequence that is a possibility.
So what if they say no? And then what do we do?
We
It
could still
comes
say
back.
yes, or we could say no.
And if we say yes, then we don't have to go back to them?
That's correct. That's why the sequence is important here, Eric.
Okay.
The question, Kim, you just asked is what I want to ask the Board of Finance. There's some very smart people on the Board of Finance, and for whatever reasons, they have chosen not to recommend COLA increases for the town clerk and the town treasurer. I would like to know why, and I want them to do some analysis and make a proposal to us that we can then look at and understand what their thinking is, rather than jump ahead of their thinking and asking them the questions. I would rather work together with them to understand what their position is, and then we make a decision.
Well, that's fine, Eric. That's what you feel comfortable with. I don't agree with that, but I'm listening to what Mike is saying, that if they say no, when you go to this meeting and they have reasons that we don't agree with, we get another chance to look at it and say yes, and then it happens. So I'm fine with it.
Oh, no, 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 no.
No, it doesn't. Okay, so that's the part that I'm stuck on. I go back to my original. I want to initiate it because either way, it's risky. That's how I see it. And I'd rather, like Tom said, if you want something, put it forward and say, this is what we want. And we hope you agree.
I'm getting lost now. Honestly, now I've lost the train here. So may I ask Mike a question? And Eric, Mike, is it your opinion that we should keep the three? It should be one recommendation or not? Did you, or should we separate and have the vote on first selectman?
I think we should go on ahead and approve this motion that's before us right now.
Can we hear it again as it was?
Yes, so I've moved that we approve an increase to the first selectman's salary by 2.75% for each of the next 2 years as recommended by the Board of Finance. Is there a
Okay.
second?
Yeah, I second it.
Okay.
All right, so
I have one more clarifying question. I'm sorry. If we approve an increase of 2.75% for each of the next 2 years, are we not in fact approving a midterm increase?
We'll front load it.
Okay, so the effect of that 2.75 this year and then 2.75 on the new base next year would all be increased now. Okay.
It's the economic, it's a dollar equivalent.
It's the economic equivalent of having done this, but this is not in fact what we're doing. Okay.
I just
Thank
need to add to the mix when there's a pause. I believe that the Board of Finance has made a policy decision. I know that's speculation, but I don't think that we should continue naively in thinking that they just didn't think about it.
Right. Well, again, and also think of the scenario where they say, yeah, that there should be an across-the-board COLA increase, and we're in agreement. I mean, I don't know where everyone actually stands on that position, but say yes, doesn't that look like a more collaborative process? And if they did say no, we still reserve the right to say yes.
And I think it's like good for people that have this decision-making authority at any point to go on the record with it, instead of us sitting here trying to determine what they were thinking when this didn't come before us. We've signaled, I think, to some extent, what our thinking is for them, and, let them go on the record and vote about it. I'm all for that sort of transparency, that we get their opinion. And if it, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter so much because we can always override that, why would we not follow that? That's sort of my opinion.
All right, Eric,
Anyway.
and then we're going to take the vote.
Just for the clarification. So what we're voting on tonight is an increase in the first selectman's salary effective with the election in November of 5.575% to take effect immediately after election and remain in effect for 2 years.
That's correct.
Correct.
That's the language I would prefer to have in the motion.
I thought it was for 26, 27. Why is it immediately after? I thought it starts in 26.
It's fiscal year.
Fiscal 26.
Fiscal year. FY 26.
Right.
Yeah, so it doesn't start immediately after the election. That's what Eric just said.
Once you take office. Once you.
We're in
seat-
fiscal year
Once you're seated, then the salary starts. So like when I took office, we had voted for the salary when Kevin was still in. Kevin didn't get that salary. I got that salary once I took office. And so whatever you're voting on tonight doesn't take effect until after the election, and I'm staying in this office, so it'll be starting in November. So it doesn't take effect until after the election.
So
Once I'm sworn in.
So it's not a fiscal year.
My first
No,
salary of
it's
my new
November. It's not a.
2 years following the election.
Yeah, it's 2 years following the election. It's not a fiscal year then.
Right.
Thank you for that
All right, let's take a
clarification.
vote on the current motion. Oh, sorry, Maria.
So just to clarify, whether we vote, if we vote on this one tonight and the other two at the next meeting, everyone's at the same place, same starting point after the election as far as the salary increase?
No. Town clerk starts January.
No, registrar, that's registrar. That's the registrar.
And the town clerk also,
Yeah.
her increase goes in.
That's what I
in
just
January
said.
By
But the
charter.
treasurer,
The treasurer would be. immediate.
The treasurer would be immediate.
The first selectman.
Okay. After the election, that's what I mean. So by voting on one, it's not a penalty really. If we're going to vote on the other, everybody's starting at the same point.
No, they
Well,
are.
except for the,
Town clerk starts January.
except for the town clerk.
So we'll vote on this motion, and then what we're saying, at least as I understand it, with the finance committee is essentially ask the Board of Finance, why not give a COLA to all three? Or am I wrong when I'm thinking that? Is that what everyone's,
Well, it's not just all three, it's the entire town hall staff and the first selectman. Why not why leave two people out?
well, you're talking about the people that are represented by the union, they're governed by the
Yeah,
CBA.
yeah, I'm talking about everyone. I'm just saying, why would you leave two people out if everyone else
I
gets it?
think it's the phrasing. It's the way you were.
law. You can't, the town hall staff has annual raises every year, so their salary changes every year. By law, the elected officials have to go into office knowing what their salary will be, and it may not change over the term of their tenure. So that's why it is that way. So, you know, the town hall is governed by, you know, Plymouth
Yeah,
law, and some
I
of
guess
them
it's
are
by
on union
statute.
contracts, some of them aren't, but.
Correct.
The town clerk
By statute, January 1st, or is that?
No, right after election.
Should,
No,
I
town
think
clerk
so.
is
I think
January.
town
January,
clerk's
town clerk is
January
January.
Yes.
Again, so we're clear, what would you be saying to the Board of Finance, explain why a COLA shouldn't be extended to the clerk and the treasurer? Not
That's the
give us
question.
your idea of what you think should happen, explain to us why you don't think a COLA is appropriate, or we can't afford it, or whatever. Is that what we're asking the Board of Finance?
I think that's a negative way of putting it, to just say, we would like to recommend this, and do you agree? Because if we say why, we don't know why. Maybe it was just an oversight. Why are we assuming it was something negative?
I
That-
totally agree.
That is not the question. The question is, no recommendation from the Board of Finance came to the town council for a COLA increase for the town clerk or the treasurer. Please explain. That's it. That's
Okay.
the question.
That's good. I agree with that, if you have to go with that, even though I had another plan, but.
I'm just one vote, but I'm not on board with that approach. I think I have a great deal of respect for the Board of Finance. I think they will understand that if we have a position, we're going to vote on our position and then we'll talk. That's what I would do.
I have to say that I do agree with Tom.
Can we get a vote on my motion that's pending? Can we just get a vote on the first selectman?
And then said, I want to hear it, and then I'll take my position.
I don't follow what you just asked me.
What did you just say?
I said, I think we should, if we know what we want, and it seems to be a consensus that we want a COLA for these other positions, we should vote tonight and then talk to the Board of Finance.
I'm not there. I'm actually not.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
Could
I
you?
understand.
Could I ask Hillary, if you don't mind, or anyone, what is the reticence of voting for it tonight? What is the reservation?
I would just like to follow a process where.
This is a process, though.
Do you want me to answer? Or do you want to answer
Going
for me?
around and around and around.
Can I ask
Can we,
that
can we
we have
take
a
the vote?
motion?
Can we take
We
the
have-
vote?
Pending
Yeah.
about the first selectman's salary going up. I have nothing philosophically right now against entertaining a recommendation from the Board of Finance for a COLA increase for the town clerk and for the treasurer. I just simply don't know, and I would like to hear their recommendation because I actually do respect their opinion, and I think that they're very capable, and I would like to know what the answer is, and I'd like it to be on the record. That's my answer.
And if we follow the time frame, it'll have no material effect on whether or not these people get increases. So it's just a process, and I would love to be able to vote, and then we can see where the chips fall.
Yeah, I mean, my suggestion is this could have been done before this meeting. If you're so curious, you could have called up people on the Board of Finance and asked them
So
what
why
was the
didn't you?
reticence. Because I don't need to. That's not my,
It
it's not
wasn't
my
on the
issue.
it wasn't on the
That's
agenda.
not my issue. I'm fine with voting for it. So I don't need to hear from them because I think it should be done.
So look, all right, number one, we're taking a vote on this motion. Okay, all in favor of this motion? Raise your hand. Okay.
What's the motion?
Just for the first selectman.
First selectman.
The motion is to review and approve an increase to the salary for the first selectman by 5.575% beginning effective post-election in November 2025.
Okay, all in favor? Anyone no?
abstains?
Any abstentions? The motion passes. Okay. We're done with that. And then the issue becomes the COLA issue for the treasurer and the town clerk. And what to do, okay? So, and we gotta wrap it up. We got other things to do. We have people waiting here for this other issue. My recommendation is we tell the Board of Finance that this, I mean, why not provide this COLA for these other two provisions? If there's something they want to tell us, why they don't have the money, why it shouldn't happen, then they can tell us that. They very well may say yes, or they may say no. But we need to understand that process, okay? Because one way or the other, right, Nick, they have to be consulted and we have to get their approval for it to happen.
Correct.
So if we take the vote and say, we want a COLA increase right now, Board of Finance, go talk about it. Hopefully you say yes, or hopefully you say no. I think it'd be better off where we're having them on the record. They can have their discussion why the couple of grand there and a couple of grand there shouldn't be extended. And maybe there's a valid reason we're not thinking about. So for me, I'm looking and saying, you know, we at least respect the input of the Board of Finance. And our decisions are more, I think, more consonant with our fidelity to what we do as a body. If we have them explaining to us why a COLA wouldn't be appropriate for these positions. So that's my opinion. I could be wrong. You could take a vote on that. We could, and move it along, but is that okay?
Yes, right.
Yes.
All right, so then we're gonna have a motion to amend our agenda. And we're gonna do this with the Finance Committee, okay? And this is the motion. Have the Town Council Finance Committee ask the Board of Finance to discuss why a COLA increase is not appropriate for the treasurer and the town clerk. Is everyone okay with that? All right, so we make a motion.
I'm not, but that doesn't mean that you can't propose it and that I don't know if I'm going to vote for that, but I'm not, but.
So number one is I'm making a motion to amend the agenda to put that on. So can I get, okay, we have a second. All in favor? Okay. Now, the motion itself, which again is to make a motion to send to the Board of Finance through the Finance Committee of the Town Council to have a discussion to explain why a COLA increase for the treasurer and the town clerk should not happen.
Second.
Okay, so that second, all in favor?
Well, I don't have necessarily have to do a roll call. I just have to see hands. So everybody's voting in favor except for Marie. Are you, and against? I'm assuming.
My hand's not raised.
I know, that's what I'm asking. Against.
I'm against. I don't like the language.
4, 5, 6. Luke, are you up? 7?
Definitely
7 in
up.
favor, okay.
I'm in favor also, I'm sorry.
Yeah, oh, sorry, so it's 8.
Do you want us to do it again?
Well, you only had one, you and Maria both did not vote yet.
It was 8-2.
And Rita's not here. Right.
No, it's 8-3.
It's 8 to 3. There's 11 of you, but one's missing. There's normally 12.
Who didn't vote? Tom didn't vote for it.
Earlier today.
Tom, you did not vote?
Right.
Here.
So no Tom. Maria.
Oh, sorry.
Opposed?
What?
Oh, we're opposed.
Yeah.
I'm opposed.
I didn't hear that, sorry. Oh, 3 opposed.
Not yet, I'm opposed.
Because you could abstain, so.
So it was
So opposed is Tom, Maria, and Kim. Right? Yes, correct? Okay, thank you.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
So Nick, I guess you're sticking around for town council.
I'll hang out.
How are you retainer right now? I don't know.
Retainer.
Oh, well, then you get to stay. All right, you know what, can you continue? I gotta.
Well, I actually have to recuse myself for the next,
Just start,
do you want to take a small break?
Let's just keep it.
Okay, we'll keep it going. Okay. Just for the record, I'm going to recuse myself on the next issue of the Waveney Park Playground.
Waveney Park Playground Project The Parks and Recreation Department's per town code, chapter 10, approval of improvements, section 10-2 is requesting approval to increase an already approved Waveney Park Playground project in the amount of $345K for a total project cost of $800,000. 10 minutes, Tiger Man, Ryan Restivo, and John Howe.
Just going to very quickly start, and then this has been Ryan's project, and this is Ryan's project because he was an assistant superintendent for our first meeting. And he went out there, and after the meeting, he said, "John, I'd like to write up minutes to this meeting." And he did such a great job with the minutes. And from there, I said, "Ryan, would you like to take on this project? I'll be with you, but this is your project." So with that said, I'm going to be quiet and let Ryan speak.
Good evening, everyone. So just reintroduce myself, Ryan Restivo. I'm the park superintendent, and joined with me here tonight is Tiger Man, Director of Public Works, John Howe, Director of Park and Recreation. And then along with them, we have some members of the Friends of Waveney Playground here and the Waveney Playground Committee. So thank you for attending tonight. So we are here on behalf of the New Canaan Parks Department, along with the Waveney Playground Committee and the Friends of Waveney Playground. Before my request, I wanted to thank the committee, the town bodies, Friends of Waveney Playground, and the donors who have contributed to this project. Without your efforts and contributions, we would have never been able to create such a renowned design and the amount of inclusive elements. Along with these two groups, I would like to thank the state of Connecticut and those involved in awarding the town of New Canaan with our infrastructure improvement grant. What a privilege it is to partner and work amongst such incredible individuals. After immense consideration, we have confidently developed an entire site that will provide a vibrant and inclusive space that caters to the health and recreational needs of all residents. From adults seeking fitness opportunities to children in need of a safe and engaging play area, Waveney Playground will be another source in this prestigious town. Waveney Playground features inclusion, climbing structures, swings, slides, ramps, sensory and communication elements, music chimes, and accessible routes. The renderings within the handout are pinpoint to the actual design, including color scheme, equipment, surfacing, and orientation. What's shown in the master plan, but not featured in the renderings, include fencing, tables, benches, and landscaping. There will be fencing and landscaping bordering the playground surrounds. Within the fencing, there will be tables, benches, and grass beyond the fall zones, offering an area for socializing, spectating, picnicking, and other recreational activities. The fence also serves to border children within the playscape and will reassure one source of entry and exit. This project was approved by the Town of New Canaan Park and Recreation Commission on September 10th, and on September 16th, the Board of Selectmen approved a total request of $766,069. This total includes contingencies, and the money is accounted for from 3 different sources. 1, Parks Capital Account titled Playground Replacement. 2, Friends of Waveney Playground Fundraising. And 3, the State of Connecticut Steep Grant Award. We understand the costs of future maintenance, and our committee has carefully considered this within our planning. I would like to briefly go through our considerations throughout our planning. Game Time, which is the equipment manufacturer selected, provides proven durable materials that are projected to last over 12 years, but likely upward of 15 to 20 years. The poured-in-place rubber surfacing selected is top from an accessibility and safety standpoint and is suggested to last over 10 years and eliminates yearly infill ads like washout materials do. Among many other considerations, the final emphasis I would like to share with the community is the impact Waveney Playground will serve to its users. As we all know, playgrounds are amongst the top used inclusive facilities in town. I know that the Waveney Playground Committee has a strong passion for this project and foresees this space to have a huge impact on its users. Once again, I thank you for your consideration regarding Waveney Playground. My colleagues and I are happy to answer any questions.
Christina.
If I may, could you give us a breakdown as to the grant and the Friends of Waveney fundraising efforts?
So as far as the town budget stands currently, the town has $337,581. The steep grant is for $300,000. And the fundraising Friends of Waveney Playground Committee has already submitted a check to the town of New Canaan for $150,000.
And the total cost of the project is $766,069.
So that includes contingencies as well.
How much is the contingency percentage wise?
So the contingency for the equipment, we added a $1,500 contingency. And the reason being is because there's a sign that's included in our quote. And we don't have the final design for the sign. It's a two-sided fiberglass sign. So they speculated an extra at most $1,500. And then as far as the surfacing goes, I added a $21,550 contingency. As far as the install goes, which includes the excavating and the site prep work, that is, it was $187,845, and I added a $18,785 contingency.
Christina, the contingency is 5.4% of the total.
Thank you, Eric.
Janet?
Question, did the state grant have certain specifications on what the playground will look like? Or like, what was the overall requirement?
So the design, no. To answer your question, it's no. They did specify that it has to be, that the money that they donate has to go toward construction, which has very broad, it's a very broad spectrum, so.
And then it had a match from the town as well.
Correct.
So it had a match from the town, and then a match from the fundraising was also part of the grant itself.
Tucker, was that tied to anything or was that just tied to each other?
Just tied to each other.
I just have a question about the numbers. So did you say the total amount is 776,000?
No, it is $766,069.
Okay, so when I added up all the numbers, it comes to 687, the amount of numbers that you told us, and then there's a difference.
Okay, yes, because the contingency.
Okay, so, and that's the money that you're asking for? Are you asking for a special appropriation tonight for that money, or?
No. So I'm gonna have Tiger speak on my behalf. of that question.
We're not asking for any money.
Okay.
All the money's covered. Basically what it is we had, back when we originally envisioned the project, it was a $455,000 budget. We, as town employees, can't spend more than $455,000 without your approval. So because of the Bach amendment, so there's additional monies that have to come back. So the monies from the steep grant and the monies from the Friends of Waveney Playground are additional monies that were not included in the original budget. So since they weren't included in the original budget, but now they're in the overall project, we've got to come back and ask for your permission. So that's what we're asking for, is the difference between what we had for original budget to what now we're asking for, the overall budget being $800,000. So in essence, it's a $345,000 increase, but it's covered by the steep grant and by the Friends, not by the town.
Okay.
We have monies left over from the budget itself, and we're supplementing with that. So it's strictly just that's it.
So it's more just the maintenance over time, and that's why you gave those numbers. It could be 10 years for the surface and 10 to 15 for the equipment. So is the town going to be responsible for the maintenance of the playground?
Yeah.
Yes. Essentially, yes. I know that the group behind me know that they're confident that down the road, there will be another group that will come in and fundraise as we're doing here tonight. So Mead Playground was a playground at one point, and it was removed, to my knowledge, and replaced. So
They
just
were both donated.
They were
the
both
Mead
donated.
Playground, there was a public-private partnership.
I remember
Even
that.
the second one.
Yeah.
Even the first fitness area was donated to the town. So the first fitness area in Waveney was donated to the town, and then now they're back again. So there's more donations going forward. So we're confident that in the future, when when the playground will have to be replaced or items will have to be replaced, at that point in time, the Friends will continue to forward.
So presumably the Friends of Waveney Park Playground is an ongoing entity that will continue to fundraise into the future.
Can't speak for these ladies, but we're thinking that these ladies or others will come forward. So,
That's my presumption.
Between maintenance versus replacement, right? If we're talking maintenance, then that is certainly something that we as a collective now would be willing to undertake. I was one of the people behind Mead Playground. This is my second rodeo, so to speak. So I feel very confident in that I know more about public playgrounds than probably anyone else besides the three gentlemen here. This equipment is the equipment that's being installed at Waveney is the same one that is at the main structure. And it was the one that was there in its first iteration when we had the wood chips down on the ground. We made it all abilities by putting the poured in place surface. Quite frankly, without the poured in place, this is not an all abilities playground, and not just for individuals who have mobility challenges, but you cannot get a stroller, a regular, a mom or a caregiver, anybody who just doesn't have any mobility challenges, you cannot get a stroller over the chips. So, there are some elements to it that are called all abilities, but when you solve for disability, everybody benefits. So back to maintenance, that is something that was relatively easy. We could launch our brick campaign again. We had a really good response to that. In fact, we had to close it down after a certain time because we understand that we had some deadlines to meet, but it's never a problem for us to reopen it. Regarding replacement, similar to the way that I stepped up for Mead, I cannot imagine that the community would want to lose such a valuable asset. Once this playground is there, I really think that there will be other like-minded, sort of civic-minded individuals and collectives who will step up to pass the baton. I cannot envision a scenario of the kind of people that we have in our community where they would want to lose it and not get.
I agree with you. I'm just stating for the record that the presumption is that your organization will remain active in fundraising to fund ongoing work and projects or capital improvements, et cetera, because you're all committed to and dedicated to making it a wonderful thing for the town. Thank you.
Can I ask a question about the signage? Like what kind of sign, where's it gonna go? And I know in the past, people have come to the town council to tell us about the sign before it goes up.
And that's why, since it's a donor sign, the same thing happened at Mead Park. The sign was put in at a later date. And that's why there's the contingency there. There's some other signage that is more what I'm going to call safety signs,
Okay.
which is different. But the main entrance sign will be coming back. We need to go back to the Park and Rec Commission the same way.
Okay.
With the donor sign, I know that like when we had something with the skating rink, they couldn't put donors in Mead Park. And I know when I was there recently, there was a rock. I think you're talking about the old donors, and it had like a plaque, and it fit very well with Waveney.
That's from the first.
Yes,
round.
that's what I figured is in the first. So is there a way to do something like that so that it's not like, because I don't think there was an ordinance against signage in parks.
There'll be no logos on the sign. And a lot of the donors, I don't want to speak, are families or individuals. But we are not putting any business's logo on the sign. The only logo that would be on the sign presumably is the Friends of Waveney Playground logo, which is a nonprofit and it's under.
I think it's also important to point out that the Mead Playground sign, the one that you're referring to, that rock, is from the first iteration. We do now have at Mead Playground an actual donor sign, which does not look anything like a rock. But it does blend in with the landscape of the play structure. So what we would have there is another sign. In fact, it would look exactly the same as the Mead sign in terms of its shape. It would be more muted colors. We're not using primary colors because we're trying to sort of blend in with the landscape. So, but there would be a sign there that looks exactly like the Mead Playground sign, minus the graphics.
Okay.
I just want to, first of all, say I am so incredibly grateful to you guys, your team, and I'm sure there are others that are not here tonight, but just the incredible hard work. It's such a beautiful thing to witness, like the collaboration between you and the staff, and I can hear your passion for this project as well. And so I feel like it's yet another example in my brief 2 years doing this of just, we've seen some examples of these public-private partnerships. And there was money in the budget for a basic playground. You had a vision for something that would serve so many more and such a more inclusive group. And then to hear the testimony tonight, I wasn't expecting that of these individual parents. I just feel so proud about this. And you went out and you got this excellent grant. It doesn't seem like it's going to cost anything to the town of New Canaan, and we're going to get something so fantastic, and another feather in our cap in this town. And I look at it in a history of Mead Park, the library, Capo Field. We have, something great going on here. So thank you to everybody here and the people you represent.
And just say, I want to add on to that. I mean, this is an example of New Canaan women getting it done, getting the job done. It's like, what, we want this playground. How much do you need? This is what we want it to look like. And there you go. So kudos to you guys. We're really grateful. And all the families are, who are going to benefit from this is going to be incredible. So thank you.
Ryan and John Tiger have done yeoman's work to get this off the ground. And we're fortunate that we have such dedicated employees to make up. It's been so impressive to work with them. That's another real partnership.
Any other comments or questions? So love this project, glad it's moving forward. Everyone involved, how it raised the funds to get it done, how it's being conducted. And this is more of a generalized statement though, just to kind of pull things back just a little bit. Because I remember approving the monies for this project originally, and the project has definitely gone into a different sphere. And I'm looking at things more of a wider lens, that we have to be mindful as a town council and, all of those involved in our budget and on these projects, that we have to we have to understand exactly what this project is, and be mindful of trying not to allow projects to kind of expand beyond what the original intention was. I mean, this is awesome how this is working out, and it's great, it's going forward. I'm fully in support of the motion. But on a larger point, I think for all of us to consider moving forward, when these projects come to us, we have to be careful about, is this going to be, is it a great idea in the beta stage, and then next thing you know, it starts being implemented, and then let's add on, and then they got to come back. Thank God they have this massive, awesome, ground support of people dedicating themselves to do the fundraising. And that's how this project got done. And it's awesome. It's a total testament to the town and the quality of the people and the commitment we have. My concern is what would have happened had they not been, rock stars in getting this money. This project would have come back to us, and it's so awesome and worthy of every penny. But I'm just looking at it again on our process side. In the future, we really need to be mindful of these projects, because now, the maintenance of this is something the town and from later on we'll have to, take care of probably. And it's to some extent, which is fine. It's just something when we're getting into a project, we really need to know, is this the project, or will it, move into something much, bigger, larger, and obviously super worthy in this case. So again, it's nothing about anything in particular. I'm totally in support of it. It's our process. I think we've got to be a little bit more mindful. Yeah.
I was going to say, on the Board of Ed, when we would get donations, the Board of Ed would actually have to accept them. And I don't know if that is something the town should consider, because that turned the money was there first, and then the idea, and it went in that direction. So I don't recall ever doing that on the town council, but we did that a lot at the Board of Ed.
I know that in the excuse me, in the past, when we have had a project presented, it's usually described and we approve a budget. But it seems like the project morphed into a private-public partnership, but you never came before us and said, we're going to hold on to this, we're going to fundraise, we're going to increase the scope of the project. And it's kind of a surprise that you're coming at at the end of the process instead of when the process started to change over. Because if we approve a project, we want to make sure that we are committing to a number that in the future we can replace. So in this case, it's almost doubled. And it's great that they got the grant, and it's great that it's fundraised. It's a tremendous project, but we need to know that at the starting point, not at the end.
So with that said, you know, that's our process to work out at another time. But in any event, let's move it along to approve this motion. So, oh, sure. So Jennifer's making the motion. Penny seconds, all in favor? Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiger.
You guys for patience tonight too.
For the rules, Tiger? No. I don't.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, well, I wasn't trying to dump on the project. I was
No,
just
no, I
saying
know
things
exactly
get a
what you were
little-
saying. I know
I
exactly.
mean, it's
what you
super
guys
cool
were
and
saying.
awesome.
I get it. I totally
So just before
understand.
we launch into this, so the money will flash plan here is- Let's just say. First, I have my bifocal. I do, bifocal contact.
15 years at Waveney with no playground. With my kids playing soccer and no playground. Yeah, I'm here.
And it's there.
And now it's there. Now it will be there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Based on what he's saying. So Tom, what I'm saying on number 7,
What's
before we
next?
kick this off. Number 17, compensation for the position of first selectman, town clerk, and the treasurer shall be fixed by the town council, subject to the approval of the Board of Finance. That language is now
Yeah.
not accurate.
What would you
based on-
do?
Yes, agree.
It's budget authority? Well, essentially,
Yeah.
the Park and
That's-
Rec just gave their.
Technical
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah, and that's why I think we'd have to have Nick tell us, because, and I think this is.
Nick's
an-
approved this, by the way, but
I know, but I mean, I'm uncomfortable with this
I
language,
agree.
given his discussion with us, and I think we'll probably just come up with something now.
fine.
I'm just wanted to flag it, because I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
really the only
problem.
contentious thing here. But-
Can we postpone the vote on it then?
Well, we're here, so let's try to move it along, and if we need to, we need to, but he's here, and I don't want to keep him forever, so, all right, let's go. Numbers, whatever. we're at.
We are on number 6.
Number 6 on the agenda is the town council rules, review and possible vote of proposed town council rules. 20 minutes, Tom Butterworth and Hillary, but hopefully we won't need 20 minutes. So Nick, if you would just come on up, and we have just a couple of quick questions. So I don't know if you want to.
So there, in my knowledge, there are 2 unresolved issues in the material that's been circulated. And by the way, what we circulated is the same material that we circulated last month. But the 2 open issues are both in Article 1. One of them is, I'll do these in reverse order. One of them is Section 18. We had fairly extensive discussion about the town-appointed trustees to the library. And there was a vote that we would terminate that practice. However, that only makes sense if the first selectman and the library CEO were planning to do the same thing. So that the town and the library would concur that there's no longer a desirable practice. But latest information is that they're not both prepared to do that right now. So I think that's all we need to know, that there's no reason then to change the language that we've had all along. We're just going to leave it, if that's all right, as it is. And if in future that environment changes, we can revisit it. Section 17 is what we just spent an hour discussing. And this language, was my understanding that it was consistent with Nick's opinion. And hopefully most people are okay with having language that reflects Nick's opinion. But I'm certainly not, I have no pride of authorship. I think there's some suggestion that we could actually make the language a little better to more closely reflect the opinion. So who would like to talk about that?
I have a question. Is the concept and the language in section 17, is that in the town charter? Is it already prescribed in the town charter?
Yes.
Then why do we need it in the town council rules? My question is, well, to our body and to you, why is this, I mean, the town council rules is all about our organization, our procedures, our meetings, our committees. And then this seems to come out of the blue about compensation. I'm just wondering why it's in here if it's already in the town charter. That's a basic question.
We actually have a lot of stuff that's in the rules that referrals to, you know, C4-12 and, you know, that sort of stuff. I
We
mean,
do, but that's not necessary. It was just almost a stylistic approach that, you know, we could do that, but it's certainly not necessary.
Yeah, that was just a glaring question to me. Why is it in here if it's in the town charter and this is the way we're supposed to behave anyway?
I think it's just so that everybody actually has read the stuff and is aware of it.
This is like an
So it's
abridged-
not the entire
Right,
charter that's
right.
repeated.
For people that are new to the council or learning, or if the public wants to know what we do, they might not want to read the charter, but they could read this very brief document.
Okay.
So I think it's kind of didactic in nature.
Kind of operationalizes what's in the charter.
Right.
Yeah, all the town council responsibilities that are addressed in the charter. Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't
Thanks.
think it's, as it's worded, is consistent with your memo. And I think your explanation was honestly fantastic. So I'm thinking there's probably a slight adjustment to this language that's warranted to
I agree
be
100%,
consistent
Mike.
with your explanation and your memo. So I like your comment on that.
Sure. So just to frame this, I mean, I didn't propose any of these changes, you know, this red line version came to me with the request to review and, you know, identify any inconsistencies with the charter. So to that end, Tom is correct that I said, yeah, you know, I think this technically works. But does it, as everyone just suggested, does it operationalize, you know, that very nuanced legal opinion that I just gave in the proper context that not only this body and the next folks who are going to sit in your seats, but the public can understand too. So, I mean, I'm hearing you, Mike, and I think I agree that the way this is represented right now, it says, okay, compensation for these positions shall be fixed by the town council, subject to the approval of the Board of Finance. I think that's still accurate because, like I said, the town council is that final budget authority. It's the final legislative body that selects for the town council. So in the grand final arbiter sense, yeah, the town council is ultimately fixing these. And based on the charter, Board of Finance approval is also required at some point in that process. There's two processes, though, for which this section can apply. One is through the normal budget process, where, I mean, this, just reading this seems to contemplate that you guys start and then it goes to the Board of Finance to finish. I mean, in a normal situation, and I say in my memo pretty clearly at the end, look, we're not suggesting you guys do mid-year transfers here. And obviously that isn't how the town has operated historically, because it makes more sense to go through the budget process where everyone fully considers this up front. So, you know, does this read in a way that isn't actually true at the very least in the normal context that should be sort of the best practice here? I think that's where maybe we can fine tune.
Right.
But-
Go ahead, Tom.
I'm sorry. But isn't it true that in the statute, now I realize that there's certain areas, the statute that are that have to give where the town charter takes precedent, but I don't know if this issue invokes one of those, but the statute says that determined by the legislative body subject to blah, blah, blah. And so this notion that the town council determines the compensation, it seems to work consistently with the statute.
And I agree. I think I agree with that, Tom. And that's why I started saying, I think the language is technically consistent with the law. Does it achieve the purpose of these rules? Which you guys just said is sort of just to trim it down to something that's understandable.
Okay.
It'd just be easier to then say, you know, compensation for these positions is set in a, you know, in accordance with state statute and the charter, and leave it at that, because that's encapsulating really what the nuances you say in your memo versus this language. I personally cannot approve this language. I think it's not, it's misleading to some extent and inaccurate. So I think either we really fine tune it to incorporate the nuances, which would be unwieldy and unworkable, quite honestly, or we really just defer, which goes to kind of Eric's point, like if we have to do this anyway pursuant to statute and the charter, and that the charter trumps the state statute, which is still crazy to me, then we so state that and we move it along. So that's kind of where I'm coming down, more of just, we can keep it in there, but defer to the larger statute and the charter and leave it at that. Because getting into a nuance, what are we going to agree? We'd have to adjourn again, have council, coordinate with council to come up with probably a very large block rule about this is what happens with a flow chart. You know, that's what I'm thinking.
So Mike, you're saying like in section 16, it says parentheses C5-2, C14-16. So you're saying cite what state statute goes with 17. Leave it the way it is.
Right, we would
Put
say
that in
pursuant to
parentheses.
state statute, general statute, whatever, and then also cite the charter provision. Be specific. Say, here are the provisions that govern how the compensation will be set for these positions. That's
Quite
it.
a few.
And that's fine. So if that's something we need to do, and if we don't have it right now, then we can then put it off and vote on our October meeting. But I think if we're all in agreement, we don't want a large block quote of this nuance versus let's just do it pursuant to state statute and the charter and cite the provisions.
Well, I would just say citing the provisions is not trivial.
How many are we talking about?
Because there are a lot of
50, 10?
I don't know that, yeah, I'd agree it's not trivial, but I don't know that it's honestly that heavy of a lift. My only fear is that, I mean, there's always some sections that tangentially apply in some way, shape, or form, although, I mean, the main ones for purposes of all this discussion that are cited in I mean, it's basically what I cite to in the memo. It's the state laws and the sections of the charter that are in my memo. So I think that's accomplishable.
Do we want to try to do that now, or can we?
Fine.
Wait till next.
If that's all we're gonna do, if everyone's in agreement with that and everything else in these rules, then it's just subject to that, what is it gonna be, 2 sentences?
Right.
And we can float that and as a round prior to our next meeting, and that's it. And if we're all in agreement, then we don't have to have a long discussion.
No,
We're just
no,
gonna
no.
approve it. Is everyone okay with that? Essentially
Yeah,
gonna
I
defer
just-
this? Yeah, thank you.
I just have a question, Nick, with regards to the town clerk's salary. The code says the town clerk's salary shall be set by the town council pursuant to the general statutes. Does the town clerk's position differ from the treasurer's position or the first selectman position in terms of the statutes? And who approves it? Does it need a secondary approval body? Is it different or the same?
So, I mean, that's a good question because the state statutes describe the role, the approval authority specific to the town clerk's salary. This board is acting only as the legislative body. In that charter reference that you point to that says, okay, the town clerk's salary is going to be adjusted according to state statute. There are several state statutes that come into play. The most broad is the one 7240 that I referenced that captures all of these elected officials, but then there's several others specific to town clerks, which long story short, this board acts when it sets the town clerk's salary as just a legislative body. When it sets the salaries for the other elected officials, it's acting in its capacity both as a legislative body and the budget authority. What does that mean? I think there's, in terms of the town clerk, that means this board's opinion, I keep calling it a board, I'm sorry, this council's opinion with regard to the town clerk salary should have, it's a weight, it's not an inconsequential finding. It should hold weight with the Board of Finance. It still has to go to the Board of Finance, because just the fact that this council would be acting in a, maybe, you know, I heard discussion about, look, maybe there's some intention under the statutes. Tom, we can agree to disagree here, but there's some intention perhaps that this council is the policy setter in terms of salaries. So with respect to the town clerk, I think that may be a more accurate statement. I definitely don't agree with that in terms of the other two, but I think there may be something there with regard to the town clerk. All that being said, it doesn't avoid the fact that this charter provision still clicks into place because we're talking about a mid-year transfer out of the contingent fund. So it's still, I think the bottom line is whatever this council says in terms of what you want to do with the town clerk salary, the Board of Finance should really hear you, and then they still need to render a decision in the affirmative to actually.
I just wanted, when you're rewriting the sentence or two, is to clarify the difference between the two, so we don't go back to.
Into doing this whole big block with flow charts.
But if we're, yeah, and I think
If the sentence reads, compensation for the positions of first selectman, town clerk, and treasurer shall be fixed by the town council pursuant to state statutes and town charter as applicable, that covers everything.
I'd vote for that. Or Nick can, if it's longer, Nick could write it.
But is it possible, I mean, I'm just asking out of the box to put a recommendation that this is done during budget season? Because if that is in there and say it is recommended, however, that this is done during budget season, because then we don't have to go through, I mean, not that it shouldn't stay in the rules, but it should be two parts to it. One is if it's not in budget season, this is this scenario, but it's recommended that it be done during budget season, because it seems a lot cleaner that way.
I mean, the way that the prior iteration of this, before these red lines, it said it happens during budget, which is really when it should happen. Yeah. So, I mean, however you want to make that point, I wouldn't object to that. I mean, I think that's how this should flow, because if it doesn't, this is what we get into. And, I'm doing my best to try to give the firmest answers I can, but I mean, there is just some gray areas in the law.
I mean, I think it's good to have it flexible, because right now it's not budget season and we don't want them to lose out, but could there be two parts of this rule that, it's recommended budget season, but if it's not, these provisions apply?
Well, they apply during budget season anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't.
Okay, it can be written differently.
By state law.
Yeah.
It has to be every 2 years. It has to be set before the election, and it cannot change for the term of that election.
So actually, if we're going to do something like Eric's suggestion, it should be consistent with state statute, the town charter, and the state constitution.
Yes.
Because that's where that
right
prohibition comes from.
Yes.
Right, but that's still shorter than citing every relevant provision.
Right, so then we say state statute, constitution, state statute, and charter as applicable. And we leave it at that.
Got it.
Okay, all right, so, then I guess if we're all in agreement, we could just vote now on it, just say, so we'll amend, our motion will be to approve the edited, red line version that we have in our hands, with the exception that section 17 will read, compensation for the positions of first selectman, town clerk, and the treasurer shall be set by the town council in accordance with the Connecticut State Constitution, the Connecticut general statutes, and the charter of the town of New Canaan as applicable. Would that make sense to people?
The only correction I'd make is we're amending the first sentence of section 17.
Yeah, right.
So the first sentence Sentence of section 17
Oh,
shall. blah,
right,
blah, blah, blah.
good point. And then the additional red line language, compensation for any such official for any term of office shall not be greater than the amount should be in effect
Mhm.
at the beginning of such term. Yes, it's like, we agree not to change that language. Is that correct? Is right? So first sentence is gonna get changed, second sentence, red line will be accepted. Is that okay? Is everyone okay with that?
Second.
So then, okay, great. So then, so the motion, so if we're ready to vote, I mean, do we want to talk about any of these other red lines or are we good to go here? So we've had that discussion.
Yes, section 7, there's just this change. I don't remember agreeing to it. Part 1, Article 1, Section 7, in the event that 2 members are serving as co-chairman, the member belonging to the majority political party shall be considered vice chairman for the purpose of this section.
That sentence is in the current town council rules, so we brought it back in.
Okay, so you put it back.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
All right, does anyone want to talk about any other edits? All right. Yeah,
Sorry,
all
and I
right, go
don't
ahead.
have the exact number, but it was something that said to add something to agenda, it was allowed with the permission of the council. The wording was changed to by a majority vote of the council. And so I was just wondering why that was, like, when you say permission of the council, I don't know why we didn't leave it at that as,
Robert's rule, you have to have 2/3 to add something to the agenda. So that's actually not even consistent with Robert's.
It's actually FOIA, but it may be in Robert's rules as well.
okay, I
So
thought
it-
they said 5 out of 7 as opposed to 2/3, that was a different majority, but I'm
I'm
sorry.
looking
I
for
don't
this
know. I
language.
saw
Let's
it in
just
there.
find it
Um,
probably in section 8, maybe?
It's on the second to the last page of the red line.
Oh. Oh, it's section 10. Sub E. And related.
Where are we?
Section 10.
Section, Article 3. Second to last page, section 10.
Motion to add other members, not on the agenda, we didn't already go to the council.
And you think that's new? I don't remember.
No, it said before with permission of the council, and then there was a red line version that spelled out the majority that was needed.
It was deleted, permission was deleted.
Can I
Yeah.
weigh in?
Please.
So I think permission actually works better here, because it captures the requirement. It's not always just a majority vote. If you're on a regular meeting, you can't add anything to to a special, thank you. For regular though, you can add, but you need, under the Freedom of Information Act, a 2/3 vote of the body to do so. So it would be inaccurate to say you just need a majority vote. I think the intention here, well, the intention would be covered by what FOIA requires. I mean, it seems like the intention here is like, look, we're not gonna add something to our collective agenda in the midst of a meeting unless at least more than half of us agree to it. FOIA makes that a little bit more strict and says, A, you can only do it during regular meetings, and B, if you're gonna do it, you need a supermajority.
Right.
And what's the super majority, 7?
So
Give it a
whatever.
permission. I agree. That's sound legal advice. So I say permission. All right. So I'll make a motion to just clean up these little issues. Other than that, any other questions about any other edit red lines? Nothing? All right. So we're going to amend the motion. All right. So we will amend the motion to approve the red line edited version that's before us today, which is, what's today? September 17th, 2025, and we'll have this attached to the minutes. At the top of this document actually states bylaws and ordinance committee proposal dated July 15, 2025. So the motion is to approve the document I've just identified for the record. subject to the following adjustments. Okay, so with respect to section 17
Of Article 1.
of Article 1, thank you. The first sentence will read, compensation for the positions of first selectman, town clerk, and treasurer shall be fixed by the town council in accordance with the Connecticut State Constitution, Connecticut General Statutes, and the Charter of the Town of New Canaan as applicable. Okay? There'll be no change to the second sentence in section 17. The additional adjustment language in this proposal will be to this is Article 3, Section 10, subparagraph E. The language will read, motion to add other matters not on the agenda with the permission of the council. Okay, so that's the motion.
Second.
Okay, second,
I did.
Sorry, I
there-
had my hand over my mouth.
is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor? The motion passes unanimously. Wow.
Wow. A lot of work went into that. Good job.
All right. Let's move it to number 7, which is charter review. This is review and possible approval of the establishment of a charter review commission for me. So, I mean, I think this would be pretty simple. We had our discussion last time about the whether to trigger the process for convening the Charter Review Commission to review the charter, which is supposed to be done at least every 10 years. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve the establishment of the Charter Review Commission. And if we could get a second. Okay, so that was motion. Jennifer seconded it. We can open it up for discussion about whether to do it. Like I said, I'm happy to have this more discussion, but I think we had our discussion last time. Are there any other comments about whether to do it, or otherwise we could just take the vote?
I would just
Kim,
like to add
please.
something, not whether to do it or not, just how to do it. And I'd like to just reiterate my concerns before that FOIA is top of mind in terms of collecting information and opinions of people, that any subcommittee meetings are noticed and available to the public, and that there's some kind of good, best practices of how other towns do it, so that we don't run into getting FOIA violations on the collection of pretty, important and sometimes seemingly confidential information, but none of it's confidential that I'm aware of. So that's my only comment.
Understood. Any other comments, questions, or are we ready to vote?
Is there a reporting mechanism to the town council? Can the town council member be on it? Is it a committee of the town council?
So, no, what we will do is, and we'll have this, we will appoint the people to the Charter Review Commission. We, meaning the town council, is the one who appoints. So we will solicit input for proposals, but ultimately, we're the only ones that decide who gets on the Charter Review Commission. So with that being said, what I'd like us to do is in the next meeting in October, we come with, what's wrong, Penny?
We've had a request for several months to start, looking at people to sit on the commission. I've got about 5 of them right here. And we have 30 days to form the commission, and it starts right now.
Okay.
After we take the vote.
Yeah, we haven't voted.
Okay, pardon me. I'm not totally correct. As soon as we vote on it, it is 30 days
To
to form the commission.
Okay, well, I mean, what other mechanism could we do to say, well, it doesn't even matter at this point. The point, so we'll vote in favor of this. Clearly, when no one's in any position to discuss right now, candidates for, I got it, candidates, a full complement of candidates. I mean, we could talk about the 5 that we have, and I'm happy to do that since we're here. But I think that we certainly have to have all of us, and I said last time around, we need to have, start thinking about who we're putting on this commission. So I think
I have a
Well,
question.
hold on a second. Let me, Tom. I
Can we
meant-
assign to one of our committees or set up a new committee to work on the staffing between now and the next town council meeting?
Sure, just let me get Jennifer. I apologize,
I
Jennifer.
just have one point of clarification. So looking back at, you shared this with us. There was one town council member on that. So is that required by this? So that was just an option, like what? Is that relevant to
Why
this?
we put that individual on is that so many of the members on the commission really had not been operationally involved with the government. And so you needed somebody who had a firsthand experience, with the operations of the commission, of the government.
Right. So whether the wisdom of putting someone on it now, we can certainly have that discussion. There's no prohibition, nor is there an obligation to put someone from town council. It's just the wisdom of whether to do that.
Given that there's a 30-day window and deadline, should we not then between now and the next meeting organize ourselves and establish the process and then vote on a committee? Because then we can appoint right away, but that window of 30 days kind of makes me nervous.
I feel like we need a process.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Nick,
We submit names at that
Just ask
point and
just on this issue in terms of our timing with the charter review, right? So we'll vote tonight. We're voting yes, we're going to implement this process. Now we've got to appoint the people to it. Question is the timing, right?
Yeah.
That when should we have people appointed, or can we, for purposes of statutory compliance, start appointing and just get them up and running and then have a fuller complement and give us more time? Like what is exactly required in 30 days is what I'm asking.
Penny's correct. You need to just appoint, you need to make all the appointments within 30 days of the initiating resolution, which is effectively what you're doing tonight. So yeah, I think you need to actually fill the seats
Sure. Okay, fine.
Within 30 days.
within 30 days.
Does it spell out the procedure at all of how to do that? Like interviewing, who interviews people? Does it have any of that? No, just the timeline.
Mhm.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So what I myself have done, and I had asked all of you to do while we were on vacation, is to think of people to put on the commission, to actually reach out to them to see if they would be willing to serve on a commission and to submit CVs.
And just to re-clarify, majority rules, minority representation is part of
Absolutely.
this, right?
Isn't it?
Yeah, so. Can I just hit a couple other things to keep in mind here when we're starting this process? So in terms of membership of this commission, I haven't heard it yet. Maybe you have a number in mind. You get to set, number one, the number of seats on this commission. It could be anywhere from 5 to 15. No more than a third of whatever that number is of total members can hold another public office. So it would be permissible if a member of the town council, if the council wanted to appoint one of its own.
Sorry, just on that point, does public office include people who are appointed to boards or commissions here, or is it just elected public office?
Appointments too.
It includes appointments? Like if somebody sits on inland wetlands
Yeah.
or Board of Finance, that goes towards the 1/3. Okay,
Can I get more clarification on that? So I hear what you're saying. Let's say, for example, if you're on the Conservation Commission, their charter states they cannot serve on any more town bodies. So does that preclude them from being?
It would.
Okay.
Next.
So on the minority representation question, I think Tom was alluding, it's a little bit more stringent actually, and that's correct. So there cannot be any more than a bare majority of the same political party on this commission.
what do you mean by a bare majority?
1 over half.
Okay.
So it's not the 1/3, 2/3.
Correct.
It is just a bare majority.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So like 5 and 4, something, you mean 1 over.
If we had 9.
Yeah. Whatever's more than 50% of the total number. And it has to be a whole number, obviously. so.
It can't be a half person.
give me a lobotomy.
5.
A little bit, a little
You
different.
know, like the menu,
Got it.
right? Yeah. Column A, column B. Sorry,
there
I'm
anything
getting
else you
punchy.
outlined?
So that's what has to be accomplished within 30 days. I'm not sure there's a particular time frame, but this body also has to establish the time frame by which the commission, this Charter Revision Commission, has to submit its draft report. And that cannot be longer than 16 months.
When do we have to establish that?
When we're doing this.
Yeah, ideally, you know,
You form the
as soon
commission.
as you can, yeah.
Wait, just to clarify again, so once this commission is formed, they have 16 months to submit their
It's
recommendations to
whatever
us?
you set.
We could say 6 months.
It could be.
It can't be any
But
more
no
than
more than
16.
six,
It could be 6
16.
weeks. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding.
Can I ask one more question too? Are we required to like interview these proposed people for the commission, or can we just discuss them? Like, is there a process for choosing them, or?
Kim asked that and the answer is no.
Okay,
You can,
thank you. Sorry.
it's your discretion. What else should I tell you? All right, so it's on this council to give the Charter Revision Commission its timeframe for when it has to do the bulk of its work and submit its draft report. That's then going to come back to this council.
Is that when the report comes to us, or is that when we have the whole process?
It's
of
not
this?
the finish of the whole process.
So it's
Their
when the report comes.
draft report.
Mhm.
But we're sort of necessarily bound by getting on the next ballot, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
Yes.
We
it
can
would,
have a special election. It doesn't necessarily have to be. The
but
reason.
we're sort of bound by being, I mean, I think ideally we'd like to be on the next ballot, right?
You actually
So-
do, because that's when the most number of people come to vote,
Yeah.
and which is why we wanted it during the presidential election.
I just looked at the number, 16 months is like January 2027. If you want to change it to the general election, you'd have to make it
No,
shorter.
It's no more than 16 months.
No, I
So it
know,
can
that's
be
what I'm
fewer than
saying.
16 months.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, that I'm trying to give you the range, right? So the range is, we could say January, or we could pull it back to October, the day before the election, whatever. The
No, but
point is,
we need time to review their recommendations and then vote on it. So we need even more time than that.
right,
Well, the
So-
time frame that you're that you would be setting, and I'm happy to, have continue to assist this council in understanding all the, benchmarks here. Setting a time frame for the draft report to be completed, not for the completion of the entirety of the process. In addition to making the appointments, I'll start with that, setting the number of appointments, making the appointments, setting the time frame for the draft report. You can give, and probably should give, recommendations of what you think the Charter Revision Commission should look at. I mean, to Penny's point, and I think it's wise that this Charter Revision Commission should have however, as many folks on it as you could find that have some institutional knowledge of the town and the laws and how the charter has operated well, how it hasn't operated, when it has created gray areas. The Charter Commission is not bound by those recommendations if you make any. And it's going to ultimately do its own thing and open things up, but it does sort of frame, at least out of the gate, and it gives this council an idea when it's trying to say, okay, how long are we going to give them to submit their draft report? How big of a project is this at this point? How many are we doing, like a massive rewrite, or are there a handful of sections that might deserve some attention? I'll just say, I have two other towns who are doing the same exact thing. They're initiating this month. And they're both trying to get on the November ballot next year. So they
Next year.
put like a 6-month
Ooh.
timeline on getting the draft report in, which we have advised is optimistic, to say the least.
We did it last time.
I mean, I think it's
We did.
doable.
The commission was formed on October 12th or whatever, fell after the, town council meeting, and they had their draft done by April. And then that had all the public hearings and everything on there.
What is the drop dead date we're supposed to take this motion to convene or not convene?
Which motion?
To
November,
approve
November
the
27th.
establish, to initiate. Is today the drop dead date?
You don't have to do it today.
It's the drop dead date. It's supposed to be at least every 10 years.
Oh, at least,
You guys see what I'm getting at here? Because of the process of, okay, the 30-day clock starts ticking.
Well, could we also put it on the 2027 ballot? Like, if we wanted to, that's a local election. And we could give them 16 months to give us the report. And then we do, like, to Kim said the date was January 2027, Kim? is
Right,
that what
but
you
then
said?
that would give 10 months. I'm wondering,
No, I'm saying give 16 months to get us the report.
no, but then it would be 10 months in draft phase. I think that's too long. I'm wondering what Nick thinks about a 9-month period, like if we
I have
started
no
in
idea.
September.
I have no idea how much of
the
this
scope.
charter is, like what the scope of this project is.
So can I,
Can I just continue speaking?
Question.
Sorry.
Um, I mean, I think the question is, when do we need to do this in order to meet our 10-year?
Yeah.
Recommend, you're supposed to do this every 10 years. I mean, when was the last time we amended the charter?
2015?
I mean, I don't think if it doesn't happen immediately within that 10-year window, our charter just evaporates and it's no longer effective. I mean, I haven't studied what happens. I can. I don't think it's going to be fatal to us.
So it's a requirement that we consider it within a 10-year period?
I don't, off the top of my head, Tom, I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm not sure there's any constraint there.
Can I just, the one thing I would say is in the last, because I was actually part of the last charter revision, I was interviewed, I was on the Board of Ed at that point. I think that the Charter Revision Committee took up very big questions of the charter. And, we can agree or disagree on some of the changes that were made, but there are some small niggly things about the charter, personnel policy, some very detailed things that I believe will take quite a lot of time to go through, but need to be updated. And so what I worry about is that, again, we're going to open this up. We're going to attack these very big, broad things and never deal with the inconsistencies and the issues that we really have. And that's going to take time to do. That's going to take a very fine tooth comb. It's not, real exciting work, but it's necessary work. And so.
And I think that sort of begs the question, I don't have the answer for this, but I just pose it to everybody is, so we're doing the right thing tonight in having this vote and perhaps we're going to vote to open it up, but why is there a pressure to do it in a compressed time frame? I don't see why we have to impose that on ourselves as long as we meet all the requirements. I mean, taking a breath and doing it right sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we back out the dates, what are people comfortable with for a draft period? Like 3 months? Because then you can kind of, figure out the dates versus doing it now and feeling like we're under pressure. Having a 10-month draft period seems way too long if we, 16 months plus 10 more months to the election.
I'll say a lot of it's going to depend upon who's on your commission.
Yeah.
We had 9 very committed commission members, and we divided into teams so that the 2 people were studying an issue and then the other team was studying another issue. So it's not like everybody's studying everything. And they really got through a ton of stuff. And
address the small issues. And so what you're talking about are large, you took the process and you said, we want to look at these 5 questions and you attack those questions. And what I'm saying is, I don't know how I would ask, if you are going to open this up, there are real issues with our charter that need to be addressed that aren't big, broad questions. They are personnel policy problems. They are inconsistencies. And that is not a broad question saying, look at how many people you're going to vote for, or is the Board of Finance going to be elected or appointed? These are like true people that know how to look at a charter and know the law. I mean, I think we might even need legal help with this.
Yeah, for some of the maybe less apparent, but lower hanging fruit, dare I say. I mean, this council hasn't been, I mean, you correct me, you haven't been studying, you know, everyone hasn't been reading the chart. Well, you should take the charter home and read it every night. But if you're not, you know, actively identifying, okay, we're keeping a running list, which we do in some towns. And well, there you go. I mean, that is like, obviously, to make recommendations to this commission to hone in on certain areas, including what Deanna is talking about, you need those insights. So if you have them already, great. If you don't, you know, between the first selectman's office and my office, I think we can help, you know, guide that.
Is there a preliminary review that attorneys can do to say where the charter is not consistent with like what's happened in the last 15 years legally? I mean, is there something that can be done preliminarily?
Yeah, because
Not under the retainer, but.
No, I know, it would be an
yes.
expense. That's true. I know, because we did that on the Board of Ed. I mean, Maria and I would know that. We did that on the Board of Ed.
Yeah.
We had to retain somebody to do that. And it looked through all our policies, and it was a pretty you know.
I mean, rather than kick off
Friends of
the
Penny's Charter
commission,
Review
that makes
Commission.
it good that it seems like
Fund.
there's certain things just on the face of them you might find that normal people wouldn't even
What you
know.
would do is, the way I would see it is, council can be retained at whatever rate and say, here are the things that council's saying should be updated, consistent with, you know, what the law is now. And then if there should be a separate discussion had that the first selectman's talking about, saying, look, you know, yeah, you can talk broad, but you know, here is like 20 different small things that you really need to look at and, you know, and get into it immediately, because it's going to take quite a bit of time to get through. I think that's the input the commission has to get from the get-go.
Right.
Start looking at these issues, and if they decide they needed to branch out and look at other things, fine, but we have to address what yeah, so I get that, but let me take it a step back. What I'm getting at in terms of when we need to vote yes and implement, because what does concern me is a 30-day period then to, you know, find people, vet them, discuss it, and put them in place on October 17th. That's why what I'm thinking, the better way to do this is to not vote tonight on it. We're all doing it with straw poll. I mean, is someone saying no to it? Yeah, all right, so we're doing it. So why wouldn't we take the time over the next 30 days to have a discussion, maybe with a committee, or just appoint some people to be a clearinghouse of accepting potential candidates? That gets circulated around to the council members, and then we can have either discussions with the potential people, candidates, and then on our meeting in October, we say, here is who we are thinking about, and we can have a further discussion of those, maybe a winnowed down pool. Because we're not in a position right now to say yes tonight and conduct that personnel process in a 30 days. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think the only way we say yes tonight is if there are 10 or 15 or 20 names submitted tonight of people who have said they're willing to do this. I only have one.
One of the things after Tom, go ahead, you.
Well, I was just, you said, why wouldn't we? I think there's just one answer to that. The only time constraint here is, what election event are we trying to coordinate to or solve for? And I think voting tonight was contemplating that we would have this on the ballot in November of 2026, right?
Yeah.
That's the only parameter. And
Right.
so if we want to just blow that off, or if we think we can do it in 4 months, then why wait? But if we're going to go for that event, I would suggest that we vote tonight, that we set up a committee or a task force or whatever to review the applicants and scour the ranks. And I don't think, I just personally think that the idea that the town council is going to give them, the committee, a ton of advice on day one is, to me, not the most critical thing in the world. I mean, I think that we probably Penny already has a list. Deanna has, is aware that there are many, many issues. I don't think we're going to have a problem figuring out what we're going to work on once the commission starts.
Well, Jennifer first.
Defer to, oh, sorry.
Sorry, but I feel if the goal, and first of all, I don't have a fixed set on what election, but if the general consensus is, November of 26, the election, I still think this idea of having the input, this very detailed, pinpointed, precise input, then if you did wait the month and then had the commission, you start from the get-go very focused. I feel like we could do a great job, get these names to you in a week or two, but it's amorphous. Like what are we telling them to look into? Like I don't feel ready to do that personally.
And I-
You don't have to, actually.
But look, I mean, let's just cut to the chase, because we're just gonna go round and
Yeah.
round here. And I'm not comfortable at this point with this 30-day deadline saying, yes, triggering that 30-day period tonight. Because I agree with Eric, without having a slate of candidates to vote and say, we're voting tonight to implement, here's our approved candidates, let's get it on. We are gonna just vote yes and then fumble around for the next 30 days trying to find applicants that we can all agree on. I just don't think we're in a position to do that. So if we need to wait 30 days to do that, that's fine. And if we can meet what we believe should be the timing for the report, to get it before the voters for the next election, fine. If not, then we don't. I mean, we just, Tom's point is right. I mean, it's our waypoint, yes or no. If it's not, then it's not. But I'm not sensing a comfort level other than maybe a few that are prepared to say, start the 30 days tonight. So that's the issue. Do you want to start at 30 days tonight? Yes or no? Who's in favor of starting a straw poll tonight? All right, so we're not doing that. So then the next question becomes, how are we going to implement an applicant process? Okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I think it's important to have a scope of the job. So when you ask people, are you interested in serving? How many hours a week is it? What are we going to do? And I think that to have input from Deanna and other people and from Nick, so that you get a good fit of someone who actually wants to do this stuff and read it. So I don't think we really have a scope of what we're looking for. And like, if to Penny's point, if people are doing different things, maybe some people like looking at broad issues, some people like looking at personnel policies, some people like talking to lawyers. So, I mean, I think we need more of a scope of what the job description is and the time commitment to get someone who's a good fit. Because I would hate to fill up the committee with people who can only devote 2 hours if it's going to take 10 hours a week or something.
Well, I agree that in terms of what type of scope there is, number one to me is what's the time commitment you can give. To me, this is a very large undertaking. And I honestly think you need to commit to 40 hours a month. I'm not kidding when I say that. I am not kidding when I say that. It would take so long to go through that charter, look at what legal counsel's input is, chat with the first, that process, it is an enormous task. So we don't need fly by night. I can give you a couple hours here. Oh, I got this, I got that thing, I got my kids. No, we cannot have people on this. We need serious dedication for that. I would think at least 40 hours a month. That's what I'm thinking. Does anyone think less than that?
Of the people I spoke with, that was their question as to what is the time commitment. And
Substantial.
that was my
Substantial.
answer.
This is not anything that, I got a million other things I got to get to. I got vacation, I've got this, I've got that. Because look how hard it is just for us to schedule a bylaws and ordinance meeting.
Then we
So
need to know over how many months. So we have to set the timeline.
I
Is
know
it like
that,
if someone's taking a European vacation for 6 weeks? So we want to know between this month and that month, you're going to be here 40 hours a week. But I would also just urge that we get people from different demographics, because that we're not getting all the same demographic, because those are the only people that can commit 40 hours a month. But
we're all free to make suggestions as to, who we want. But I think you're right. I think we have to, number one, what is your time commitment? Number two, I think is, and you have to, then we also have to consider the issue with the bare majority issue. We have to think about the issue of are they elected or they appointed somewhere in town, like those things come to bear. And then what is it that, we want do we want legal background, accounting? Do we want public policy, human services? Those are the types of things we need to consider in terms of who we are in contact with for proposing.
I feel like that whole mix that you just
Yeah,
said sounds.
That's what we want, a cross section, I think, and age demographic, and we have new people. I would love get some, newbies in town on, as well as, our senior demographic as well.
Mike, I just want to point out on timing, the last 10 years ago, what they did is they finished their draft and submitted it, I think, to the town council in April. I think if we don't vote tonight, it's very clear to me that I couldn't serve on a commission and commit to getting this thing done by April. I would need more time than that. So, I'm just assuming that what we're deciding tonight is basically saying it ain't going to be fall of 26. It could be fall of.
We did last time.
No, but
It could be 9 months. You could
started
finish
earlier.
in June.
At least the way
I know, but we're deciding not to start in October.
So if it was submitted in May of next year, and you think like,
Oh, I don't think those are dates you want to screw around with, because it has to, the various steps, once you prepare your first draft, there's a lot that goes on between that and the election.
Actually getting it on a ballot.
Yeah, I mean, again, to me, it's not, it's not really a waypoint for me getting it on the ballot in November. It's
No,
just
I just-
not. It maybe is for others. It's not for me.
I think it's useful to know that.
Yeah,
at least
no,
I'm
it's a
thinking
great point, Tom.
It ain't gonna be 26.
Yeah, that's why I was saying it's probably realistically going to be 2027.
right.
And we don't want to start the clock now to finish in January and
There's
have
no reason to.
a 10-month
Right.
draft period. That makes no sense.
The other question, Nick, I have is just in terms of ultimately the functionality of the appointment. Are we supposed to vote on that, or the town council will have a vote? We'll say Joe Smith to appointed to the charter review, up or down, yay or nay? Is that what the process?
Pretty much it. Yeah.
Is there?
I mean, you can build in everything that you're contemplating here, but legally, that is how to effectuate.
You have to get on it by majority vote of the town council. Is that correct?
Is it a simple majority or a super majority?
That's what I'm asking.
Super to start the process.
Correct, but to make the appointments, it's just a majority.
Majority required to appoint, to actually put the person on there.
To vote up on a person filling a seat.
Right. Okay,
Let
so.
me just comment on the time frame. I think the reason why you wanted to have it at a either state election cycle or a presidential cycle is you're asking the populace to vote on something that is going to affect everybody in town. So you don't want to have a local election time where, a third of the population comes out to vote. So you're not having as much vested interest in what the recommendations are if you're on a municipal election cycle.
Are you saying that elections for us are not?
No, first of all, I think it's more 50% show up. Out of about 14,000 people in a local election, about 7,000 people show up. So it's more than 1/3. And, with the presidential election, I don't know that figure.
But also some of that,
1/3.
I think some of that is information getting to families to understand, to residents to understand that that's on the ballot, and which makes me think of mailers. And is there a budget for this process?
Like the communication channel.
So is that part of something we have to?
Yeah, do we?
Yeah, we'll have to engage the council definitely for input along the process. We'd want to publicize it heavily at the, I think, first of all, that it's underway, and then when it comes time to get it up onto the charter, the ballot, sure.
I mean, maybe there are surveys. I'm not sure how feedback is gathered, but if it's all mapped out, the public will understand what's happening.
Right. So we'll need to have a budget for that.
I'm not prepared to concede that it's better to have this in any particular year than another.
I agree.
I think what we want is informed voters
Yeah.
And I don't know that you're gonna get more informed voters just because there's a presidential election. You might
Right.
get a lot of uninformed voters voting. So
Right.
I don't know what the magic is in that.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so we are going to vote at our next meeting to trigger the process. And at the next meeting, we should be prepared to vote on point to this.
So that we implement next meeting, and then the one after that, we designate the members, right?
Right, because we could have the discussion. Right, thank you.
But we should try to have.
Right, so next meeting is the vote yes, discussion on the appointments, and then the following meeting is appoint, ready to go. Okay, are we okay with that process?
Can we set everybody?
By November 14th, that's 30 days after October 15th.
But we should,
Yeah, so all recommendations, if you wouldn't mind, send to the three of us, Hillary, Christina, and myself, so we start seeing.
Is there a job description somewhere? Like wondering the scope of job description.
Well, if we want to do the homework. What was the meeting where you and your colleagues presented to us on the process? You could watch that, you could YouTube that. You guys did a presentation to us and I thought.
And that
you
was Dave
outlined
Hunt and Kathleen Corbett.
Yeah, you outlined it really well, so that would
Right.
help with it.
I think it would be good to have like a one-page job description. Like if we're taking this seriously and we want someone for a good fit, I mean, obviously they can be motivated to watch this presentation,
No,
but
but we could, and then because I mean, to be honest with you, I've started to make some phone calls and I've referenced that and articulated that. The only thing I didn't say in it was the 40-hour a month, so I'll add that to it, but I do think that there was info out there enough for me to start those conversations.
Okay, are we done with that subject? Okay, great. So number 8, committee reports. Does anyone have any committee reports?
No.
I actually have
A correction. A correction.
Oh, I have really,
Go
really
ahead.
fast, but like happily, like in this like synergistic thing in town. Conservation Commission, Land Trust and Summer Theater of New Canaan. I think it's October 4th. You might have got the email. Oh, the 5th, sorry. It's like little Shakespeare vignettes in Bristow Park. So they're gonna drive some traffic to Bristow and yeah. Yeah, but so Conservation Commission yeah, it's awesome. So yay. And then the other interesting thing is I think that the swap shop, Tiger told us that you can't park indefinitely there anymore. You're gonna have to you get 20 minutes. You can't just linger and wait to see people drop them off and take it away.
okay.
so
I
entertaining.
hope that changed your week
Yeah.
to know that information.
Are they going to be ticketing?
Okay, Eric, go ahead.
I checked my math and a 2.75 increase effective for each year for 2 years does not equate to a front-end loaded 5.575. It equates to a front-end loaded 4.1625% increase.
You
That
can't,
doesn't make sense.
you can't add percents to. No, that
It
makes sense.
equates to a front-loaded 4.1625%. And that 4.6125% increase goes for 2 years. That equates to 2.75 this year and then 2.75 on that whole thing next year.
Can you repeat the number?
4.1625% front-loaded increase.
Doesn't make any sense.
I'll show you
Math.
Okay.
Show me the money.
I'll show you the math.
All right, any other committee reports as
Yes.
this is getting
That, we'll keep talking.
So
1 minute to 11.
Yeah, that's wrong.
I just realized that's an hour off.
Yeah.
You just got an hour back, Tom.
Nice.
Time for a drink before it closes.
Longest meeting
Up
ever.
for last call.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Feel like I'm on P and Z.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I just make a point about, people have been asking me if this new school's going to be built. And I just want to make the point that we've heard nothing about it. There's not been any more updates as far, as I saw in the meetings, or nobody's come to us, so I don't think people need to be concerned. People are concerned at the expenses of running a new school, of building a new school, of bonding a lot of stuff. So I'm just sharing that concern that people are sharing with me.
So we make a request that the Board of Ed, can we make a request to that the Board of Ed come here and present to us about this? Because I'm getting this everywhere and we don't have any information. I mean, we would have to wait till budget season to get.
I'll ask, I did ask for an update. I haven't gotten one. I don't, some of the board members told me there has been no update on it since the first presentation.
Which was in
So,
July when everyone
yeah.
was on vacation. Yeah.
I did see the chairman of the Board of Ed at an event last Sunday. And I reminded him that we really would like to get that July meeting back on the schedule.
Committee meeting.
And he agreed that made sense, but, you know, and I've been nudging you about, you know, from our committee side too, to get that going. I hope we can start talking to them long before March, because that is a huge issue.
Yes, we want to avoid the issues we've had in the past. Okay, anything else? Anybody?
It's
No.
5.575. So if you take 171, that's my current salary. You go 2.75 for first year, that gets you the 175, 702.50. And then 2.75 on that for the second year, that's 180, 534. That differential is over the 2 years is $9,534.
Which is what percent of?
We don't need a,
Okay, can we do
we
this
don't need
later?
we don't need a percent.
Can-
Current salary?
Do we need to do this right now?
Can we just express this as a dollar number?
That's what you did, that's what you did a few years ago, you just said $1.
Give us a dollar number.
So it's 185.34. I don't need the cents.
Oh, come on. No.
You got it? All good?
Yeah, okay.
All right,
All right,
everyone.
wait, September 29th at 7 PM, bylaws and ordinances meeting to go over a very rough draft seasonal leaf blower ordinance. I will circulate it
When?
September 29th.
Okay.
Until after the fall.
Right. Okay, motion to adjourn. Mike makes a
So
motion,
moved.
Christina seconds, all in favor?